Tsutsu. Lethu, can you hear me?
We can hear you, Mario, loud and clear.
Yeah.
Speaker mic, can you hear me?
It's audible.
Thank you.
Recording in progress.
Motsamaisi wa dipuisano.
There will now be a moment of silent prayer or meditation. May we be seated. Order, honorable members. I would like to announce that questions that were transferred from written to oral reply and placed on the order paper have since been removed on the question paper upon receipt of the replies in terms of Rule 146, subsection 2. Consequently, there will be no additional 30 minutes to today's question session. I've also been informed that the Minister of Social Development is not available to answer questions today. The Minister of Social Development has requested that the questions stand over in terms of Rule 144, subsection 1, subsection A, and 144, subsection 2. The questions will therefore stand over, and these questions will be scheduled in consultation with the Programming Committee. Lastly, I received a letter from the Minister of Human Settlement, Ms. T.P. Smelane, in which the Minister informed the Speaker that she was traveling to Kenya today in fulfillment of an official invitation from the United Nations Habitat. Accordingly, she has requested that if she does not have immediate connectivity, when called, her question is to be taken once her connection is established. The Chief Whips Forum was informed of this request when they met this morning. The table will alert the presiding officer as soon as the Minister logs onto the virtual platform of the Assembly. She will then be called upon when the opportunity arises to reply to the questions that were called in her absence. Thereafter, the questions will proceed to deal with questions as they appear on the order paper. Honorable members, today we're taking the question from Cluster 2, Social Services. The only item on today's order paper is questions addressed to ministers in Cluster 2, Social Services. There are 4 supplementary questions on each question. Parties have given an indication of which questions their members wish to pose a supplementary question on. Adequate notice was given to parties for this purpose. The members who will pose supplementary questions will be recognized by the presiding officer. In allocating opportunities for supplementary questions, the principle of fairness, among others, has been applied. If a member who is supposed to ask a supplementary question through the virtual platform is unable to do so due to technical difficulties, the party whip on duty will be allowed to ask the question on behalf of their member. When all the supplementary questions have been answered by the executive, we will proceed to the next question on the question paper. The first question has been asked by Honorable P. Kobe to the Minister of Water and Sanitation.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Speaker.
Order, Honorable Member. I will come back to you. Let me first finish. The first question has been asked by the Honorable P. Kobe to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. The question is about the original and revised completion dates and budgets for phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project. I've been informed that the Deputy Minister will be answering questions on behalf of the Minister. Before I call on the Deputy Minister, may I take a point of order from Honorable Reddy?
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. We note that the Minister of Social Development and the Minister of Water is not in the House. And I think that this House, the whole Parliament, the whole country is waiting for answers on critical issues. And this House needs to note its condemnation on the behavior of these ministers for treating this Parliament with the disdain that it's being treated at the moment. Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Reddy. Just to indicate, Honorable Reddy, that the 2 ministers have, actually 3 ministers, let me say, have written to the Speaker, explained the circumstance of their absence, and apologized and requested the Speaker to apologize to the House, which I have done in respect of the 2 ministers, as well as in the Chief Whips Committee where another apology was given. I wish to also indicate that in terms of our rules, if the minister is not available and a deputy minister of the portfolio is available, the rules of the National Assembly allow for the deputy minister to answer the question. It also allows for the minister from another cluster, if possible, to answer those questions to do so. So Honorable Reddy, I take note of your concern, but I just want to alert you that proper request had been done for absence in this request. Thank you very much. I now ask the Deputy Minister of Water Affairs to actually respond to the question.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, to the members of Parliament and Honorable Kobe. Phase 2 of the Lesotho Highlands project was originally planned to commence in 2011 and then completed in 2019. At that point, the cost implication were estimated at 16.86 billion rands. However, the project was delayed. And when President Ramaphosa put the ministry again as a standalone in 2021, with Minister Mkhune, we brought back the project. Then we're able to start with the procurement processes from October last year. Now the completion date is estimated at 2028, and the water will be in the dam, Polihali Dam, by 2029. By September 2030, that will be the closeout date. And then by 2028, the cost implications were estimated to be 42.6 billion rands. Because of issues of escalations and putting for contingencies of about 6 billion rands, we are now estimating at 53.3 billion rands. Major work has happened since President visited Lesotho. The roads are almost complete. Houses are mostly complete, only rectification that is being done that will be completed in July this year. Major bridges, where you went to with the other members of the committee, the single bridge currently is at 77.7%. Other small bridges, like in Mabuyaning and Kubeli, they're just behind by 76 days. There's a reclamation plan to speed up. The issues of the Polihali Dam itself and the Sadly Dam, the progress now is at 26.7% against the projection of 34.1% as of April, and the reclamation plan has been agreed. Then the tunnel, Polihali to Katse tunnel, is at 39.4% against the projection of 47.1%. I must hasten to say, all other matters of delay related to the two countries around feeder routes, appointment of the CEO, and other matters, they've been dealt with between the two ministries, but also at the level of the BNC. And we've agreed on issues of oversight over a 3-month basis that we should be able to oversee the project in terms of the commissions, and the two entities, which is the LHDA and TCTA, will report to us. And Gauteng, they are not going to run out of water. You know that the tunnel has been completed. The shutdown, we went there on Africa Day, the water is flowing exactly at 14 megaliters per second, which is more than 14 million liters per second. Then the amount of 780 million cubic meters is being received by South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. The follow-up question will be taken by Ms. S.L. Ditebe as advised by the member concerned. Oh, Mr., why are you called Miss? Order, honorable members. Order.
Thank you.
There is
Thank you
a
very
point
much.
of order.
Honorable Speaker, is the follow-up question not by the Honorable Kobe?
Oh, sorry, my apology. Miss MP Kobe. Honorable MP Kobe. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you for the very elaborate answer, Deputy Minister. Now, on the 13th of May 2025, we learned that a contractor that is on the Lesotho Highlands project was suspended for polluting rivers, dumping oily water and acidic wastewater into rivers that are relied on by the Basotho communities and into the Katse Reservoir, which provides drinking water to South Africa. Now, as a result of this, work was halted and about 1,400 workers were not paid on the basis and the policy of no work, no pay. The minister has rightfully stated that this is unacceptable behavior. Now, Deputy Minister, did the department impose penalties on this contractor? And what will the department do going forward to ensure that there is consequence management on contractors who are not only negligent, but are the main contributors to delays? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kobe. Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Speaker. The matter was an unfortunate incident on the basis of poor performance by a number of contractors. We know that that contractor, Kopano Matla, was supposed to manage the wastewater systems. There was an effluent discharge that was not meeting the microbial and chemical component, but it was a limited impact in terms of the zone, especially the reservoirs, not affecting the water that comes into South Africa. And then after the directives were given, we then had to convene an urgent meeting at a ministerial level, ensured that proper directives are being given, that a remedial action must be implemented after the suspension. And I need to indicate that as of yesterday, the contractor is back on site. All the issues around the clarifiers and the other mechanical equipment, they are being actually deployed to ensure that. But in terms of employment conditions, if you don't work, you can't get paid because these are term contracts. These are not kind of a contracts that we can call them a long-term contracts. But overall, the issues around project management, tightening the screws is an important issue. And we have given them to say that apart from the reclamation plan, they still have to be on time and on budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Now, Honorable Mr. S.L. Ditebe.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Minister, is the department willing to use the various built environment councils to actively encourage young graduates to take advantage of our country's huge investment in the second phase of the Lesotho Highlands Water Project to be gainfully employed and gain the necessary skills in the built environment? If yes, when? If not, why not?
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Speaker. Comrade Ditebe, we know now that out of the young graduates, in a number that is around more than 35, only 5 South Africans are involved on the basis of the appetite and the condition that exists in a country like the Kingdom of Lesotho. And it's a dim picture. And we've agreed that we'll engage to find other mechanisms, including the issues of incentives, to make it more appeasing that they get to be able to be exposed to this kind of a nature of work. And we fully agree with you. We'll actually look at those mechanisms. But other than that, the department has a pipeline of young engineers and scientists. We know that the Water Research Commission, in their cohort, they have more than 200 people that are actually PhD in terms of fellowship. Many of them in the master's program, but more importantly, we have a learning academy, and all over the country, we work with universities and other institutions to ensure that the scientists for the future for the water sector, so that we can be able to respond to South Africa's development plan, including our HRD strategy. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mr. L.J. Passon.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Minister, taking in account the delay in this project and the 20 billion rand that we are paying more for this project, has any financial modeling been done by the department to estimate the long-term impact of the delayed water delivery from Lesotho on water security and pricing of water to metros and municipalities in Gauteng and other affected provinces? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister.
We need to indicate, Chair, thanks, Honorable Passon, our Chair of our Portfolio Committee. We did an assessment, but the conditions have changed. If you look at the current economic environment and the geopolitical tensions, the imposition of the tariff by the United States of America, it will impact on the economy of our country. It will also impact on the economy of the Kingdom of Lesotho and other economic realities. We need to do an additional one because in the main, we don't want the water from the Kingdom of Lesotho to be so expensive in such a way that the burden is going to be borne by the users, especially in Gauteng and the other neighboring provinces. We'll do another socio-economic impact assessment, find other mechanisms to say, where can we get additional sources of water, whether through water reclamation, your acid mine drainage, the use of groundwater, the effluent reuse. But it's an important study that will keep you informed. But our attitude, we want them to finish not below the above the 53.3 billion rand. But at the very same time, we must also deal with the question of the time and the issues of the pollution in between. Because if there is pollution, it will impact on the price of water in terms of treatment, but it will also impact in terms of World Health Organization standard when it comes to issues of exports around the produce we produce. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable 3.
Thank you, Speaker. Deputy Minister, considering that the Department of Water and Sanitation has undergone 5 ministerial changes and seen 11 different directors general since 2013, alongside frequent shifts in policies and strategies that have contributed to delays in procurement approvals on the Lesotho Highlands Water Project, and further noting that thousands of individuals displaced during phase 1, many of whom claim to have received insufficient compensation or have faced prolonged delays in receiving their entitlements. Deputy Minister, what concrete measures, including budgetary ones, has the department implemented to deal with the displaced individuals' concerns? And what measures have been implemented to safeguard the integrity and continuity of its approval processes so that phase 2 proceeds efficiently to its long overdue completion, despite future leadership transitions or potential attempts at policy manipulation for personal gain? Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Minister.
On matters of governance, you will be quite aware that we have a treaty that was signed between the Kingdom of Lesotho and RSA in 1986. We are reviewing that particular treaty. This is not the first review, it's going to be the 7th one. At the level of the BNC, the matter was discussed. On issues of governance, the ministries of the 2 countries are going to be meeting with the Commission on quarterly basis to tighten the screws around issues of performance. And more importantly, our own representatives, which are delegates to Lesotho, will be reporting more and more. And the Parliament has been also taking a keen oversight role. Those members of Parliament in our portfolio committee, they are from there. We got a lot of insight, including issues of advice. There are procurement delays, and in the procurement delays and the procurement bottlenecks, they've been removed. But the issues of socio-economic development imperatives for both 2 countries is an area of concern that must be enforced. Then the issue that Honorable Titeba around issues of employment of young graduates, those are the matters that we're looking at. But working with the Kingdom of Lesotho, communities around where the infrastructure is happening, they are getting electricity. Roads are being there, but more importantly, they can't have water traveling hundreds of kilometers to RSA without them getting water. And it is our will that we have to have a win-win between the 2 countries. On the matter of stability in the organization, you know the department is stable. The department as professional is run by engineers at the level of top management. And we are prepared to work with all South Africans to turn the issue of water security and water provision around our country. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. We now move to the second question, which is question number 612, asked by Honorable M.L. Mletsane to the Minister of Sports, Arts and Culture. The question is about strategies that his department implemented to counter the resurgence of ethno-linguistic narrow nationalism, which is rooted in the apartheid separationist ideology and which contradict the democratic project of the Republic of Unity in Diversity, Multilingualism, and Social Cohesion. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Speaker. Thank you, Ms. Muletani, for the question. I'm not aware of any resurgence of any ethno-linguistic narrow nationalism in South Africa. It would be helpful if the Honorable Muletani could be clearer on which language she believes is surging and thus threatening to remove and replace other languages. Once I have greater clarity on what the threat she has identified might be, it would be easier to explain what strategies would be needed to replace such narrow nationalism as alleged. That being said, I'm happy to point out that the Use of Official Languages Act 12 of 2012 recognizes government's usage of official languages of South Africa to provide information, access, and ensure that services are accessed in citizens' languages of choice. I can share with this House that I've just returned from our fellow BRICS country, Brazil, where 99% of the population speaks the colonial language, Portuguese. We can still learn a few things, though, from our Brazilian comrades on what it means to be a socially cohesive nation. One can also contrast Brazil with another BRICS country, India, which has twice as many official languages as we do, 22, where there are at least 121 full languages and 270 mother tongues. States in India can choose their own official languages or language through legislation, reflecting the linguistic diversity. Despite the fact that they are living in a gigantic Tower of Babel, India is developing and growing more rapidly than South Africa, and they show remarkable social cohesion. I offer these two examples of Brazil and India, two countries that took a completely different path on the use of language, to suggest that there are no easy answers on, nor only one approach for, how to be a socially cohesive nation. It is therefore up to us as South Africans to make our situation work according to our own unique and particular circumstances. In many ways, we have done well, despite the fact that English dominates our society so much. Perhaps it is English that you were referring to as what might be defined as narrow ethnolingualism, but we should be cautious not to vilify this language, as it offers us the ability to communicate across the divides of race, ethnicity, and culture, and that is more likely to bring us together as a nation than drive us apart. Remarkably, the fact about English is true despite another fact, that it is the first language for less than 10% of our population. Zulu, Xhosa, and Afrikaans are spoken far more at home than English. No doubt the reason English has emerged as our lingua franca is in part due to the cultural dominance of the West, as well as our own colonial history. It would be difficult to shift this now. Despite past suggestions from other parties that we should start speaking Swahili, of all things, supposedly in tribute to Pan-Africanism. That being said and acknowledged, we are nevertheless making strides to accord all our official languages respect, especially the historically marginalized languages. The department is working on amending the Use of Official Languages Act 12 of 2012 to include South African Sign Language as the 12th official language of the country, in line with the Constitution 18 Amendment Act 3 of 2023 that has made South African Sign Language the 12th official language of the country. The department recognizes the equality of languages before the law, while also celebrating national unity in diversity. These measures are intended to ensure sound language management by the national government.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Your time is up. Honorable Mletsane.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, how does the department measure both the effectiveness and impact on this initiative in relation to persistent and divisive ideologies that threaten our constitutional division of a unified, diverse, and multilingual society? Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Minister.
I don't understand the question. I really don't understand the question. If you can just repeat the question kindly.
Okay, maybe before I ask you can take a seat, Minister. Earlier on, in answering the question, Honorable Member, the Minister said it might be good to give clarity on your question, especially where do you see a resurgence of a language that might be dominating? But he further on, as he answered, to say maybe you may be relating to English, and he further indicated what the department is trying to do to accommodate all languages and using various countries, sharing experiences of what those countries have done. So he now wants, I'm not sure whether you may be able to give the clarity or else you might be much more specific on your question so that the minister is able to answer you. Honorable member.
Thank you, Speaker. I was talking about the language of English,
Okay.
which our children are forced to use at school, and it's now starting to overcrowd our mother tongue language.
All right. I think you have got clarity, Minister, now.
I got clarity indeed. Thank you. I think we must be realistic. Parliament is the highest house in the country. And before we talk about the children at home, we speak English here in majority. English is the business language. English is the language that is being spoken. And I think it's upon every parent to speak their mother tongue at home and to teach their children their mother tongue. I do not believe that this government in particular is is allowing any language to dominate. When democracy happened, other languages were given preference. Other languages, money were put into other languages so that we can speak languages. But to come here and say English is removing all other languages, I honestly, Speaker, feel that we as parents have a responsibility, but at the moment, English is a business language, English is an international language. And I just think we should build on other languages whilst we still speak English. And when we are at the level where we have dictionaries, where we can converse, where books are written in our languages. But I think the government has done really well so far in promoting other languages. Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next question is from Honorable Jim Kunu.
Thank you, Chair. Given the concerning rise of ethno-linguistic narrow nationalism, what specific programs, initiatives, or policies has your department implemented to actively counter this ideology? Furthermore, what measurable outcomes, such as increased multilingualism, strengthened social cohesion, or reduced intergroup tension, can you demonstrate as evidence of progress in promoting national unity? Languages like English has overtaken our native languages. Even at school, we do not learn in our mother tongues, and Khoi and San is still not recognized in the Constitution. This has affected our preservation of culture. Other countries like China, Russian, and the Middle East, they learn in native languages and use it as an official language.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Firstly, I want to say people like China and them are exporting or importing teachers to come and teach their children English. You've got a lot of South Africans flocking into China. But what have we done? The department funds projects that develop language technologies that assist in bringing the digital divide by providing people with further access to information in their mother languages. The department develops and has developed specialized terminologies in all the official languages, collaborating with subject field specialists. We organize the National Language Stakeholder Engagement Forum annually, where language stakeholders share best practices, provide updates on their activities, and advise one another on the implementation of language policies and projects. We also support UNESCO's call for the recognition of the rights of Indigenous people and UNESCO Declaration of the year 2022 to 2032 as an internal decade of Indigenous languages. As one example of something I'm personally very proud of is the adoption of the IDIL roadmap in 2022. The department launched the new dictionary, a highly endangered Indigenous language of South Africa, to assist in preserving this language for use by present and future generations.
Thank you, Minister. Akbar Mulda.
Thank you, Honourable Speaker. I think this is a very good and a very interesting debate we are having with regard to this issue. I want to thank the Honourable Lethu for the question. I was thinking that she may be referring to other languages. But the fact is, if you refer to English, then I think we are not dealing with ethno-linguistic narrow nationalism, but colonialism. being in the English language in that sense. I think also the response by the minister was excellent, dealing with this specific issue, and I think very relevant. The fact of the matter is that our constitution makes provision for 12 official languages in section 6. And we all need to develop those languages and take it much further. What I would like to ask the minister then, if it's necessary to look at different strategies in terms of how do we take this forward, that the minister also takes into consideration section 31 of the constitution. That clearly makes provision for persons belonging to these groups, communities, cultural, religious, linguistic, etc., to allow them the right to develop those communities, to use those languages, and to take that further in a positive manner. I think is a very positive debate. Thank you.
Dankie Akbare Muda, Minister.
Ek wil eerstens sê, geluk aan Afrikaans. Afrikaans is 100 jaar oud hierdie jaar. Dit is 'n groot mylpaal dat Afrikaans, my moedertaal en die taal van baie, een van die beste tale wat ons het in Suid-Afrika. Ek is baie trots op Afrikaans. En diegene wat nie van Afrikaans hou nie, jy hoef nie Afrikaans te praat nie, is alright. Speaker, South Africa, allow me to say this. I went to the University of Limpopo, and I was attacked by one of the professors telling me, you just speak English, you must speak all languages, and you guys don't promote the languages. I said to him, Professor, you gave me a tour of the very same university before I spoke here. All the signs were in English. Should you not start here as a professor to change that? So I'm saying to this August House, let us start here to start changing that which we want to see. Let's start particularly with these people that sit down when the Afrikaans part of the national anthem is playing. Let's find them. And then they will start standing up. I never mentioned no name there. So I just want to make that clear, Speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. Honorable member, what's your point of order?
With respect, Speaker,
Yeah.
we don't sit down when the Afrikaans part is being sang. We sit down when the stem is being sung. So the minister must not mislead the people of South Africa. We don't have a problem with Afrikaans. We have a problem with the stem. Thank you very much, Speaker.
I say Afrikaans
Order.
version of the national anthem.
That was not a point of order. And the minister had not made any reference to any individual by any name or group, just as those people. So, ungazivezi, ungakavezu. Honorable Sally. Honorable Advocate Sally. Okay, thank you very much. She has missed her turn. She's not on the platform. She's not also advised the table who will take the question. We now move to the Honorable Khan. Let's move to the third question, which is question number 582 that has been asked by Honorable M.O. Clark to the Minister of Health. The question is about the total expenses incurred to date regarding litigation involving the National Health Insurance Act, Act 20 of 2023, including the estimated financial liability for any adverse cost order. Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honorable Member, as you may know, there are multiple litigations against NHI, which include litigations against the National Health Act, where there is some form of relationship. We are using the same teams of lawyers, and so we might not be able to separate the two. In both cases, we have got 5 NHI cases and 2 National Health Act cases, a total of 7. So we have hired a team that deals with them. It's 5 senior counsel and 7 junior counsel. And from October 2023, when the first counsel was briefed, the total amount paid is 9 696,679.99. There is no pending financial liability for any cost order, since the single judgment that came out so far is under appeal. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Clerk.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I would like to ask the Minister how he justifies paying such a large legal team, given that hospitals cannot afford food for patients or overtime for doctors, and given that even the President has a legal team for only about a third of the Health Minister. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I told you there are 7 cases, 5 NHI, and we have got 5 senior counsel. Yes. And 7 junior counsel. We regard this team as appropriate. The President is sued for only 1 case, not 7. We are sued for 7 cases. And that's why, and this amount of money is those who have been involved in litigation will know how expensive senior counsel is. It's not us. So when the cases increase, we increase the number because we have to match them. So it is 7 cases, 7 junior counsel, and 5 senior counsel. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Zomo.
Minister, the NHI Act comes in to address very fundamental points: social solidarity, removing the financial risk to citizens, and calling for health for all. Now, one argues that there is no amount of money that can actually be put in that space against any program like that to counteract it. Now, because South Africa remains the most unequal in the country in terms of well health delivery to our people, being the most fragmented, what has the minister found to be the socio-economic cost of maintaining the current tier system, and how has this reinforced the necessity of the NHI Act in creating a just and equitable society?
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Yeah, your question, Honorable Member, is a little bit complex. It needs a lot of time. But I'll give you very simple answers. And I've repeated them in this house. Honorable Clerk is telling me paying 9 million rand for lawyers to defend the case. A lot of money, doctors are not employed. You here, honorable members, you are subsidized to stay on private medical aid for 70 billion rand. All of us here, 70 billion. Why can't that money, why don't you have the heart to believe that money must go to help the poor? It doesn't stop there. Any South African who's on a medical aid, including you, get tax credits to the tune of 33 billion rand. It's 103 billion rand that goes on to prop 14% of the population. Then you come here to me and complain about 9 billion. Are you not trying to hide things here? If you are not on private medical aids and being heavily subsidized, there won't be any litigation because we won't be asking for NHI. South Africans will be equal. So please go and think about that very carefully. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable TKS Letlapper.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Just as a follow-up to that question, these subsidies that the minister is talking about derive from the Medical Schemes Act, which is under the purview of the minister. So you are actually giving us these breaks, these tax breaks, and you can take them away. Why do we have 2 separate acts? Why can't there be decisiveness in terms of doing what needs to be done, where the new proposal replaces the existing proposal? Why are we creating 2 parallel mechanisms? Where's the courage to match the 2? Because the subsidies that you speak of derive and are given to us, the privilege by the Minister of Health.
Honorable Minister.
Honorable Dr. Letlapi, that's exactly what the NHI is intending to do. to develop one system where the well-to-do people are not subsidized at the expense of the poor. I want to advise this House, health is the only institution in this country where we help the rich and leave the poor alone. If you go to education, when you give NSFAS, you give it to the poor, those who don't have enough income. When you give a bursary, you look for those who are poor. When you give SASA, you look for those who are poor. In health, when you look for subsidy, you look for those who are rich. And that's exactly what we want to change. That's the whole idea of NHI. That's why I will defend it with our lives. I don't see any other way. Thank you.
Honorable Minister, I think the question was, since all of these instruments are in the legislation that you are overseeing, why are we still continuing with the two, the National Health Act and the NHI, if I heard the member correctly?
I suspect you didn't, Honorable.
Is that, Letlape, what you were saying?
That is exactly my point.
Okay.
Instead of vacillating and talking about the future minister.
No, I just wanted
the Medical Schemes Act is under your authority. Scrap one, replace it with the other.
Honorable Letlape, I was just assisting the minister on your behalf.
Okay.
Thank you.
I do understand. And I know where Honorable Letlape is coming from. He has been consistent on that. He believes instead of coming with NHI, we just abolish medical aids. At least that's what I know he would have been preaching. When he was the president of the Health Professions Council, he said, don't put this act called NHI, just abolish medical aid. Let us all be equal. That's the decision this House can take. If you have got the heart to take it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Minister. The next supplementary question is from Mr. S.N. Swartz.
Thank you, Speaker. Speaker, litigation was expected surrounding this controversial NHI Act, and we understand the need of 5 seniors, 7 juniors, given the constitutional arguments, Minister. You don't have to give your life for the Act, but the courts will decide. We live in a constitutional democracy. And the ACDP, like many others, has serious concerns about the constitutionality of the Act. However, Minister, I want to speak broader, and the broader issue about cost of litigation against the department, which is extremely worrisome and takes away much needed health services, in particular medical legal claims, which as last year was 75 billion rand, where the legal costs would be hundreds of millions of rands. What, Honourable Minister, is being done to reduce the number of medico legal claims against the department, which besides the fraudulent claims, we know there are many fraudulent claims, is often caused by overworked doctors and nurses who work under severe pressures and may act negligently in that regard. Thank you, Speaker.
Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. This is a different question, but I'm prepared to answer it. The original question is about NHI. This one is about medical legal. Medical legal worries us, and you are correct. It takes money away from the healthcare services. But you are saying putting fraud aside. Fraud was found to be the biggest part of this medical legal. If you saw the conference, the press conference we held with SIU, where they are chasing lawyers who are defrauding the system via medical legal. That lawyer from Eastern Cape who has been struck off the road. I mean, he sued for fraud the amount of 400 million rand. That contributes a lot in this. But the other things is our structures, which we want to change. Let me give you an example. Gynecologists are the ones who are targeted fully, because bringing a child in this world can have complications. They are sued, whether it's public or private, because I know you want to say, because there is poor administration in public and or in private, even where you have got some of the best facilities. Gynecologists are being sued out of the work. Neurosurgeons are being sued out of the work. Spinal surgeons, because those are very difficult operations and they are targeting them. So to protect themselves, they buy medical protection. To be a gynecologist in this country, some 7 years back, I don't know the figures now, I know the figures when I was in health for the first time. You need to buy indemnity for 1.3 million rand. Not many gynecologists will come out of school, pay insurance for 1.3 because they are being sued. So they are getting out of the profession. And we should be worried about that. This is an American system. It's not ours. We've adopted an
Honorable
American
Minister,
system.
your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now move to the next question. Question number 577, which has been asked by Honorable Z.S. Abada to the Minister of Human Settlements. The question focuses on the justification for the continued existence of blocked and/or incomplete housing projects and whether the minister has taken disciplinary and/or legal action against officials and contractors responsible for substandard reconstruction and development project houses and fraudulent beneficiary allocation. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and good afternoon. The persistence of blocked and incomplete projects stems from very different reasons, some systemic, operational, and external challenges. In the main is poor contractor performance, which is across multiple of the provinces, the lack of bulk infrastructure in the main by provinces and municipalities on identified projects that have been undertaken, land invasions and community disputes also contribute, the escalation of costs due to stoppages, and also the inadequate planning and oversight. We are looking into ensuring that the disciplinary measures that have been taken, beyond ensuring that the challenges are addressed by ourselves at national level and the province, to ensure that we conduct timeously the structural assessments so that we can evaluate the conditions of the project. We develop implementation plans which we oversee for each province and deal with every specific challenge. With regard to disciplinary and legal action amongst contractors and against contractors and officials, there are cases which are running and have been referred to the police and the SIU in particular for further investigation and potential prosecution in relation to substandard housing units. And there have been fraudulent beneficiary applications of officials who were involved in changing the beneficiary lists in some provinces, with sanctions ranging from warning to dismissals. And also against contractors, as I said, the substandard work contractors are required now by NHBRC to ensure that they are assessed on a quarterly basis, and those responsible for substandard work, they are supposed to reconnect and redo the work and face possible deregistration. The fraudulent beneficiary allocations, we have created jointly with SETA a system which will be able to have codes, and once a registration have been made and you are unable to change it, or if you change it, you utilize your code and we can be able to check and track. It is still yet at a registration phase, Honorable Speaker. This system has not yet started, but it is as a response of the challenges of the beneficiary allocation fraudulent activities that have been going on. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Minister. Follow-up question will be from Honorable Z.S. Abada.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, how do you expect communities to trust your department when over 36 million rand meant for housing vanished without oversight and the same officials and contractors are still doing business as usual? Is this not proof that your supply chain systems are fundamentally broken and that your department has normalized waste and negligence while families remain homeless? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, Honorable Speaker. Well, as I had indicated, that the issues in relation to contractor who have not been building in a proper manner, the issues in the main in the Eastern Cape were dealt with, and the contractors out of the 500 houses which were assessed and found to be not of standard. The corrections were made in about 350 plus houses. And in the other provinces, the provinces with NHBRC is undertaking such. And all those cases emanating from Free State, emanating from Northwest KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng were handed over to the police and the SIU with proclamations which have been signed by the president for investigation. So yes, it could be a figure of 36 million, but there is work that has been done. One, with regard to ensuring that the beneficiary received a very well-built house. And secondly, the contractors are taken to book with regard to repayment and recorrection of the substandard work and the allocation of the cases for further investigation with the possibility of criminal and civil charges against those contractors. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable A.M. Siabi.
Thank you, Speaker. And I must say that we appreciate the commitment by the Minister and the Department to deal with the issue of blocked projects. Minister, as the Department progresses with the unblocking of housing projects, can you indicate how this work will contribute to key national priorities such as job creation and spatial justice? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the first target we have made as the department is to ensure that in the almost 200 blocked projects, we prioritize them with the escalation of concluding those projects versus starting new projects. And quite a number of work and substantial work has been done in the province of Free State, in the province of the Northwest, province of KwaZulu-Natal, and Gauteng. Yes, I must admit that there are blocked projects in almost every province, but the 5 give us quite a number of high blocked projects. The key national priorities indicates that the money that has already been spent in the fiscus, the value chain needs to end with the beneficiary who is in the utilization of what the state would have put in terms of allocation with the fiscus. So currently we are working in every province to make sure that we do that with the utilization contract of contractors before, but now utilizing NHBRC. And we're targeting old, unclaimed state businesses and businesses which are in town as well in order to deal with the spatial allocation, which has been forcing our people to be out of the CBD areas and allocating them away from 30 kilometers of the CBD areas. So our spatial policy then says we need to review, rework, finish block projects, but also identify land parcels, old government buildings, which are in the precincts of towns, so that we are able to allocate properly to deal with the spatial development. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Honorable M. Dlamini.
Thank you, Speaker. Minister, often we hear that the department is held back from fulfilling its obligations due to budget constraints. But even where budget is provided, projects are mismanaged due to inadequate monitoring. How much has it cost the department to unblock projects? And how does the department determine which projects to take priority to unblock first? And where does the money to unblock these projects come from? Furthermore, how many projects remain blocked in each province? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Dlamini, some of the questions I may have to go and refer. They are not necessarily from the original project. Speaker, we have around 196 blocked projects countrywide. I may not have the breakdown of each province by province. We are targeting that we are going to start on our allocation with about 40% into block projects, 60% into a division of service stands, completion of currently running projects, and the overall allocation of informal settlements with regard to upgrades. The money to deal with block projects come from the fiscus. So it's a division of the pie in how much percentage do we allocate for each provinces. The 5 provinces mentioned, we are channeling their business plans towards completion of the blocked projects, because as I said initially, a project which is not completed, it means the money that has been spent. Honorable Speaker, blocked projects, yes, the beneficiaries suffer more, but most of the projects which were blocked, a minimum of corruption was involved, is being investigated, money is being paid back into the fiscus, and that is utilized to be able to deal with the completion of those projects. I think in a nutshell, Speaker, that's how I can respond to the issues. There are budget constraints in terms of allocating for everybody who needs a house, who are unable to meet those standards. We're not spending badly as well in terms of the fiscus. Of course, except for 3 provinces which were assisting, that is Gauteng, Free State, and the Western Cape, where we had to implement stop and reallocation to other provinces. And the beneficiaries which performed well was Mpumalanga, Limpopo, and KwaZulu-Natal.
Your time is up. Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Honorable
Honorable Speaker.
Ghana. I'm sure, Honorable Dlamini, you noted Minister said some of the questions she will be able to answer to you in a written form where she might not have information right now. Thank you, Honorable Ghana.
Yabonga Somlo. Minister, behind every unfinished housing project, there's a human settlement official responsible for that. I know you earlier spoke of the dismissal and the warnings that you give to your officials. I want to check with you whether you believe that is enough or...
Order, honorable members on the platform. You can proceed.
Nakens. It's deliberate.
Ningalaleli kakhulu indaba.
So, Minister, I wanted to check whether you believe just a dismissal it's enough in a case where over 3,000, in some instances, 5,000 houses are left incomplete and people are not properly housed, or we should be looking at sending a significant number of officials, especially in Gauteng, Northwest, and the Free State, to wear the orange overalls.
Honorable member, your time is up.
In prison, but I was disrupted by that member.
Yes, I did take that into consideration.
They disturbed my train of thought. That's
Honorable Minister. No, I did take into consideration the minutes of where you were disturbed a bit.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Ghana, it can never be enough. As I earlier indicated, that the worst sufferer and the problems are experienced by the beneficiary, whose expectations are let down either by our system, by act or omission. Now, we have the labor relations which guides us as an act in how we need to deal with the issues when it comes either to gross incompetence or to maladministration or to fraud and corruption. And to this end, all those cases have been reviewed, disciplinary measures have been taken, where there are possible criminal and civil claims that needs to be pursued, the SIU and SAPS have been brought on board. We are also improving jointly with National Treasury with regard to our monitoring and oversight to make sure that these instances do not even happen for starters, so that the beneficiary is able to get his or her house at the time that the project should have been concluded. And that is why with the portfolio committee, the strategy is to ensure that we go back to all the blocked projects and block them, conclude, so that we do not spend more time with a beneficiary who was supposed to receive his or her house without being allocated. The measures can never be enough. They can't compare to the pain and the anguish that our beneficiaries face while they are waiting for us to conclude the processes of the houses. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We now move to the next question, question number 650, which has been asked by Honorable P.R. Mailola to the Minister of Health. The question is whether an investigation has been initiated into the death of Dr. Alutho Mazwi while on duty at the Prince Mshini Hospital and the reported deaths of 3 other healthcare professionals at separate KwaZulu-Natal facilities recently. In light of allegations of inhuman working conditions, autocratic leadership, and abuse of power at the facility. Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me start by once more extend my deepest heartfelt condolences to the family of Dr. Mazwi. The Department of Health in KwaZulu-Natal has sent up a team from the provincial office to investigate the death of Dr. Mazwi and the 3 other healthcare professionals who died in separate facilities at different times, but all of them in one province, the province of KwaZulu-Natal. We don't know whether there's any relationship. Investigations will show that. While the province has done that, Honorable Speaker, I was of the opinion that this type of investigation will need a highly qualified and highly experienced person in this particular field. So I did write to the health umbad, Professor Taole Mokoena, to ask him to also do an investigation. And part of my motivation was that he himself was an intern. The accusations is that interns are being pressurized, interns are not respected, they don't get any support, etc. Dr. Taole Mokoena, Professor Taole Mokoena has been an intern. He has been a medical register, and he has also been a consultant, because it's an allegation that the person who did this is a medical consultant. But Professor Mokoena has also been a head of department at Steve Biko Academic Hospital. So he has been throughout the whole system, and he has got the power to subpoena. He has already opened the case number and gave us the case number he has started. Now, in the action that has been taken so far, the immediate supervisor of Dr. Mazwi has been put on precautionary suspension to allow the investigation process to unfold. And the investigation case at end, according to me, will lead to a DC, but the investigation done by Professor Mokoena will go much deeper into professional things and also to find out if it is true that people are being oppressed and being put under extreme pressure. The last question here is, when do we expect the results? Honorable Deputy Speaker, it's difficult because the matter is in the hands of investigators like the health umbad. It depends when they are ready. As you know, every time they are given an investigation, they report to us when they finish investigating. So I won't be able to answer when will that be. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Mailola.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Minister, in light of your response regarding the investigation into the tragic death of Dr. Alutho Mazwi and other healthcare professionals in KwaZulu-Natal's hospitals, what concrete steps, if any, has your department taken to establish an independent oversight mechanism to address toxic workplace environment, particularly in public health facilities like Prince Mshini Memorial Hospital? Will your department, Minister, commit to making the full findings of the investigation public, including any recommendation and timeline for implementation? Furthermore, Minister, what immediate and practical support measures, such as counseling services of protected whistleblowing channels, have been provided to medical interns and junior staff facing undue pressure and unsafe working conditions? Thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
How, Ceci? I thought I answered everything you have asked now. I can answer again, but I did. I told you that I've asked the health Umba to do this investigation. All those things that you want to know, he will find them out. And he has written a letter to tell me which areas he's going to investigate, including even areas outside Prince Mushieni in the other 3 hospitals, which we never knew about. We started knowing because of this strategy of Dr. Mazwi. If you know how the health Umbat investigate, it's not in my hands whether to make the findings public or not. You are aware that the health Umbat calls a press conference to come and announce the finding. The health Umbat started doing that with Life is the Many, if you remember. Professor Makoba didn't hide anything. We were invited like any other person. And recently, with the problems at Helen Joseph Hospital, Professor Tawele Mugwena did the same. He's going to do the same here. When he finishes, he will phone us in health and say, I'm having a press conference tomorrow. We are going to see those findings for the first time with you and any other member of the public. So nothing will be hidden here. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Clerk.
Thank you, Chairperson, and thank you, Minister. And I'm really glad that the Ombudsman is involved with this, because we really get to the bottom of issues when he does an investigation. I've seen that before. So it must be a broader investigation. And but it is needed to be highlighted that in light of the tragic passing of Dr. Mazwi and the reported allegations by the Public Servants Association that interns at Prince Mashini Memorial Hospital are working over 80 hours per week without sufficient supervision and being forced to work while ill. How does the Department of Health audit and monitor intern workloads, duty hours, supervision, and workplace conditions across the country? With regard to the reported shortages of medical officers at facility, are the 16 MO posts currently being filled? And if so, when will these posts be advertised?
Thank you,
and
Honourable
when will
Member.
they be occupied?
Your
Thank
time
you.
has expired. Honourable Minister.
Yeah, honourable members, I think you are really preempting what will be found. And I'm happy that you realize that the Umbat is very thorough when they investigate. And whether there've been any oppression of interns or not, I personally was an intern. I don't want to preempt these things and say, I know what has happened. I was an intern, I know exactly what happens when you are an intern, but I would like the Umbat to come and inform you so that I don't do guesswork. The issue of shortage of doctors, you may remember that in April this year, we had a National Health Council being a statutory body chaired by the minister, where all the 9 MECs attend, the Surgeon General of South African Military Health Services and SALGA, because some metros are running clinic. We met there and discussed how we are going to solve this issue. And we said we are going to advertise posts for 1,200 doctors. And then also 200 nurses and 350 health workers. Because of the little amount of money that we've been given in the budget, we are going to do that. At the moment, I wouldn't know how much will it be per province, because we have asked Treasury to put that money in one place. The Treasury declined. They are going to send it as equitable share into provinces. Only after that equitable share has been sent will we know how many doctors that province can afford in terms of that money of equitable share. Such a meeting of provinces is taking place on Thursday. And it's then that they will tell us, but for the moment, because we just know that we're given a certain amount of money, we just know that we are going to hire 1,200 doctors. Thank you.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Tsheku.
Hi, Deputy Speaker. Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Thank you to the Minister for such a response. I also appreciate the steps that have been taken so far. Let me then appreciate the role played by the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee, Dr. Dlomo, for alerting us about this passing of this doctor. Thank you very much, Dr. Dlomo. I am also joining you, Minister, in sending words of condolences to the bereaved family of Dr. Mazwi. I am interested to understand, Minister, whether or not the department is considering any reform in addressing any structural and systematic factors that may contribute to excessive working conditions as to take care of the well-being of our health practitioners.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Your
doctors
time has
included.
expired.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Yeah, Chairperson, the amount of work a person can do, a number of hours, is stipulated in the Public Service Act. How many hours can you do? Then if you are doing overtime or on call, it's also clearly stipulated. I would like to know from the health Umbad, it's one of the things that you must find out, if there is any structural problem in that regard. For instance,
My apologies, Honourable Minister. Honourable members on the platform, please mute your devices. Honourable member,
Let me know what you're going to do.
mute your device.
Go to town.
Honourable Gama, please mute your device. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
Yes, for instance, one of the things I would like, as I was briefing the Umbad, is that whether you are fit to come to work or not, it's not a decision of your supervisor, it's a decision of your doctor. If
Honourable members, please mute your devices. Yes, Honourable Lonzi, what is your point of order?
No, thank you, House Chair. I just want to raise this concern. It's the third time that this same member is disrupting the House. The first time was when the Speaker was on the podium. Now you have come, is doing it twice. I think it's totally unacceptable, House Chair. And considering the iron fist that you applied yesterday on us, please, we want the cautions, Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Lonzi. That is indeed my plan. That is why I inquired who that member is who is interrupting the minister. So that was in the last caution. Honourable member on the platform. Honourable Minister, please proceed.
yeah, honorable members, I was going to say, the issue of whether any human being is fit to perform their duties or not is not determined by supervisors. It's determined by the doctor who treats you. Even in court, even if a judge might have issued a warrant of arrest, once you produce a medical certificate and say you issued a warrant of arrest because I failed to come to court, here's a medical certificate, judges listen. So I want to know exactly in this case, how can that happen? That supervisors, if it's true, can decide whether you are fit or not, because a supervisor doesn't examine you. They just supervise your work. They definitely examine, you won't know what is inside you. So it is one of the things that we think the Umbad will come with an answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable van Staden.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, the death of Dr. Mwazi has yet drawn the attention and spotlight in the public healthcare sector, where doctors and other medical staff are working under very bad circumstances and mostly under pressure with little resources they have to save the lives of patients, that often results in deaths of doctors and patients. Can the Minister indicate to this House if he is willing to launch an investigation into all public hospitals across South Africa regarding the bad conditions that doctors and medical staff must work under, to evaluate the support systems for doctors and other medical staff, and to publicly release a report regarding the outcome of such investigation? And if not, why not? Thank you, Deputy Speaker.
The Honourable Minister.
Honorable members, we are not running a system that is not regulated here. We have got the Health Professions Council of South Africa. That is a statutory body that determines some of these things. We have got the South African Nursing Council. That is a statutory body determining these things. We have got the Allied Health Professions Council of South Africa is doing the same thing. Apart from that, the Public Service Commission, time and again, will go to hospitals unannounced and do these things, and they've given us a report many times. I've even complained that there are too many investigations and structures. We also have the Office of Health Standard Compliance, which is doing this. Then we have got the Health Umbud. In the presidency, we have got monitoring and evaluation. All those go to hospitals and give reports, and they do it timelessly. They don't wait until there's a disaster. Then we have got the Department of Public Service and Administration also with its rules. So as far as I'm concerned, the system is adequately covered. What we want to know from this investigation is why all those steps seem not to have worked in this case, whereby a supervisor can have power to determine who is fit or not. Because I'm repeating, not only in hospitals, anywhere, supervisors do not have that authority. The authority is with your treating doctor, the one who knows exactly what your ailments are. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. We now move on to question number 605, which has been asked by the Honorable Hadebe to the Minister of
Sorry,
Water
Deputy
and Sanitation.
Speaker.
Honorable Mtetwa.
Deputy Speaker, I've had my hand up before you even took the session. On a point of privilege, I wanted to bring to the attention of the House a very important observation. The Speaker handles her sessions calmly, attentive to questions, to even be able to clarify where there's a need to clarify a question. And where the Minister has missed a question, she prompts the question to be answered. Contrary to what you said yesterday and the stances that you took yesterday, I just wanted to bring to the attention of the House. I wish the Speaker could coach her deputy speakers to do the same. She never has any problems when she's overseeing or presiding over a meeting. But you were so unfair yesterday that it broke my heart to see what was happening in the public arena.
Thank you, Honorable Mtetwa, much appreciated. But we will continue, and that point, as I also indicated yesterday, has to be taken up with the Speaker, the Chief Whip's Forum, or the Rules Committee. I allowed you now, but this was not the place for that specific point of privilege. We will now proceed. My apologies to the members. Question 605 has been asked by the Honorable Hadebe to the Minister of Water and Sanitation. The question is about integrating climate resilient infrastructure, technological innovation, and inclusive community engagement into a unified framework for water strategy implementation, ensuring coordination between national, provincial, and local governments and cross-border institutions like Orange Senku River Commission, and mechanisms for ensuring that under-resourced communities are not left behind in the large-scale water infrastructure projects and reforms. The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker, to the members and to Pungani. Our country, we are quite aware, we are signatories to the United Nations on the question of climate change convention. We also have our own coordination in our country. In the main, the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and Environment is leading most departments, but this matter is an apex matter because it affects all of us. President made a determination to have an advisory council on climate change. In our own space, with respect to water, there is a coordination strategy that responds to that. And it has 5 elements as encapsulated in the National Water Resource Strategy around the question of improved collaboration and cooperative governance. In the main, we work with municipalities, COCTA lead the issues of disaster management, weather services, do all these other matters. on the question of investment in climate resilient infrastructure. When you plan and build water security infrastructure, like the dams, you take into account the issues of technologies, the impact on the environment, the impact on communities, even our own decision to ensure that when we actually do some of the infrastructure raising of the dams or the dam walls to create additional capacity, is to take into consideration that we're a water scarce country. And it actually has to happen like we are doing it in Clan Williams, in Zanini Dam, but we are also doing issues of shared water causes with our neighboring state. That's why the Orange Sengo that is here, we get the water from Lesotho, it comes to us, we treat it well, it goes to Namibia, we share with Botswana, and a lot of these other projects. So that we can deal with the two issues, water scarcity, and sometimes we're going to have more rainfall, especially in the Eastern Seaboard. We also look at the issues of research, knowledge, and information management. Remember, weather services used to be able to predict what will be the rainfall patterns, but the changes in terms of variation is much shorter. And our ability to use CSIR, Water Research Commission, and other organizations is an important element. While we also look at other forms of where will the additional water come from. The issues of using groundwater that we need to explore in the times of scarcity is the quality water. Use of effluent is an important aspect, but in communities where there is no water, spring protection is important. The issues around the acid mine drainage and reclamation of water from the mines in terms of implementation of water conservation and demand management. But more important, we can harvest water from the air. Like I did in KwaZulu-Natal at Dumbe in a school where you do atmospheric water solution. But science has evolved in engineering. There is something called molecular organic formation, where you can harvest trillions of liters that are in the atmosphere. But at the very same time, the issues around water and sanitation, there's a plan on how to actually deal with decent sanitation, whether SWAT and non-SWAT, the impact on groundwater, the impact on food production, and then the issues of net zero carbon for water sanitation. We wanted to convert wastewater treatment plants to become wealth water treatment works. In other ways, you treat the water to a higher standard for other users, you manage the sludge for issues of production of gas, you remove the odor from the environment, you can also deal with the issues of manufacturing where you can produce that. But rural communities are most vulnerable. Therefore, coordination around disaster management response is an area that must be resourced. We know the situation in KwaZulu-Natal, in Durban, infrastructure, big one was washed away, and it takes time
Deputy Minister.
if you don't have those resources to be able to assist those communities.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Khadebe.
Thank you so much, Honorable Deputy Minister. You have touched on the aspect of the resource support for provincial and local government, especially in rural and border areas and cross-border areas. My question is around the issue of how does the department plan to address potential funding gaps and infrastructural maintenance challenges in smaller and under-resourced communities to ensure the long-term sustainability climate resilient water projects. Furthermore, what role will local traditional leadership and civil society organization play in supporting these efforts to enhance accountability and inclusivity? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
On that matter, there is something we call it traditional funding. The issues of being disciplined and very prudent on what comes from the state as grants, there has to be more oversight and transparency, ring fence that particular amount, because there are too many wastages and issues of malfeasance. But the second component is about building resilient communities around the question of partnership. The state alone will not be able to address these issues. Bringing in stakeholders like traditional leaders, religious leaders, NGOs, community-based organizations, and private sector. From issues of spending more time on early warning system, we plan better. Traditional leaders can't continue to place communities in the flat lines. It's going to cause problems. The situation we saw where there is illegal occupation of land, and that land that has not been surveyed, it exposes communities in terms of high vulnerability index. Your situation around the Vaal River system, even those that are in the tourism sector, within the red zone, these are some of the issues that we need to do. But more importantly, we must also respect indigenous knowledge. It resides within communities. It must never be taken that it's not an important resource. But this will never be done without issues of partnership, as I said earlier on.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Kegakilwe.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Minister, for that well-informative responses. Minister, the department has approved the climate change response strategy. And then what has been the impact of this strategy in reducing the dire effects of natural disaster on water and sanitation infrastructure, as well as on the communities at large? Thank you.
The Honorable Deputy Minister.
No, thank you very much, Comrade Kakele. You know, one of the problems we have on the water resource side in terms of water security, our planning is more advanced because we use options and modeling around how we build infrastructure that is resilient. This country, we have never had even any single state dam that actually collapsed like in other countries. Our engineers, they remain to be the top in the world, and we're doing so well. But our biggest challenge is around the water services provision. In the water services provision is around the settlement of communities. We must work with COCTA, traditional leaders, human settlement, we plan better. But at the very same time, we must also look at the issues of using of new technologies around infrastructure that is very resilient, even when conditions are too dry or when conditions are too wet. Then there is also the issues of human activity. When issues of human activity like pollution, it has an impact on biodiversity, water security, and reliability, but also on the human impact around building social compact. When communities are being warned to say, please move away, don't build there, we have to be able to build that kind of sense of patriotism. But if it fails, we must have the capability as a state to enforce the bylaws and other regulatory mechanisms to ensure that the risk of vulnerability is minimized. Thank you.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honorable Moore.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker, and thank you, Honorable Deputy Minister. Given your response, may I ask, how will your department ensure that the commitment to climate resilient infrastructure and inclusive community engagement are not lost at the local government level, where the greatest implementation failures often occur due to poor capacity and accountability? Specifically, what oversight mechanisms are in place to ensure that municipalities, especially those repeatedly flagged in the blue, green, and no-drop reports, adhere to national water and climate adaptation goals? And how will the department support and monitor those municipalities to ensure real outcomes in vulnerable rural and cross-border areas? Thank you.
Deputy Minister.
Too many questions in one. Let me just indicate that we have to insist that we must plan and plan better. If we choose not to plan, we plan to fail. Municipalities, in terms of their IDPs and their growth plans, must have the ability to plan for climate issues, like in line with the national strategy and the water strategy. We must enforce that. When it comes to issues of supporting municipalities, we provide them with grants, we provide them with technical support that is there, but there are certain municipalities that are not. There are 105 of them out of the 144. We've reached a point where intervening, whether they like it or not, because citizens, they cannot continue to suffer, will intervene so that the services are being provided and quality services. You can't have to have a continuous non-revenue water around 48%, reliability drop to 67%, and high incidence of pollution. And we'll never hesitate that anybody who pollutes our water must pay. Anybody who pollutes our water must be prosecuted. While we support you, but we must be ensuring that there is accountability. Then the reforms in terms of amendment of the laws, whether the intervention in terms of 1339 and section 63 and the other interventions, we must be able to tighten them, because while the state capacity is being built, citizens, they deserve better and they need to receive services now. Thank you.
Last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Nontenja.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, many disadvantaged and marginalized communities in municipalities with poor performance management, such as Buffalo City Metro, have been failing to supply running clean water to the people. For instance, communities in Ward 40 in BCMM have been experiencing the crisis of lack of running water, and this is negatively affecting their health, hygiene, and livelihoods of thousands of residents. What strategies has your department put in place to ensure a smooth implementation of priorities of the National Water Strategy to effectively reach historically neglected communities such as those in Ward 40 of the PCMM? If any, what are the relevant details? If not, why?
The Honourable Deputy Minister.
Thank you. The details around Ward 40, I don't have. We'll be able to try to get more details to follow through. But the Buffalo City Metro, like many other metros, they are actually experiencing challenges. When they are experiencing challenges, the mayor of the metro has reached out to our ministry. We actually have deployed a team working with the Premier of the Eastern Cape around water security. Remember, there are many communities that are not receiving water there, including those rural communities. We have deployed Amatola Water. We have also deployed our technical team from the Eastern Cape to support them. But there is more work that needs to be done, even working with the district champions that the president has been in a position to appoint. How we resolve the problem of Nelson Mandela Bay, when they're closer to day zero, infrastructure had collapsed, intermittent supply, is the same mechanism on how we are mobilizing the support in terms of Section 54 of the Constitution, just to ensure that those people of Nelson Mandela too, including Ward 40, their right to water is not violated.
Thank you, Deputy Minister. Question 614 has been asked by the Honourable Y. Guvana to the Minister of Higher Education. The question is about steps that the department has taken to rectify the administrative classification of students who qualify for the National Student Financial Aid Scheme but are incorrectly classified as not eligible, and the appeal process for the affected students. The Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Honourable Chairperson. Maybe we should start by indicating that as the department as well as NSFAS, we acknowledge the gaps that are identified by various members of parliament in relation to the performance of our systems in assessing the results of or in trying to respond to some of the funding decisions that we face from time to time. I just want also to indicate that we all still have some challenges. I'm going to cite West Coast TVET College in Carltonville, where plus minus 130 students did not receive their funds. It's very important for me also to indicate that as much as our ICT system is not up to date, but you are running a comprehensive appeals process for all students who are of the view that they have been incorrectly assessed. All appeals for the 2025 academic year are being assessed and funding statuses are being updated. In terms of legal and governance framework, Chairperson, it's very important, or Deputy Speaker, it is very important for me to also indicate that we have complied with the NSFAS Act number 56 of 1999 in terms of the composition of the board, where section
5.1.4 says 3 members must be nominated by the national organizations representing students. So we are trying also to make sure that we stabilize the entity. Our committees have been established, and we also have the appeals auditors team, which is chaired by Advocate Ramashia, and also have established another committee that is going to look at this matter, which is Appeals Tribunal Committee, chaired by an independent advocate, SAUS as well as SETA, who are representing students. They form part of this committee. However, some of the critical issues that we're facing in terms of meeting our targets and deadlines was around the capacity that we do not have in terms of the disbursements of funds, and also in terms of the human resource capacity. We're filling all critical vacancies, trying to add capacity and to stabilize the entity. And our teams are working over the weekends to make sure that we resolve 2025 outstanding funding decisions and appeals. Thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Governor.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, given the emotional and academic toll of being misclassified and going through an appeal process, as well as the risk of eroding public trust in NSFAS, what strategies is the department implementing to strengthen its ICT and data management systems to ensure more accurate and efficient student classification in the future?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. In terms of the turnaround strategy that we're implementing as the department or as the sector, I just want to bring to the attention of the members of parliament that the board, hence it has been appointed, has already developed the turnaround strategy of NSFAS to try and stabilize governance, management and administration of the entity. So amongst the issues that they picked up is that our systems, ICT infrastructure is not effective and efficient, and there is misalignment of data between the institutions as well as what we have in our entity. So one of the critical steps that we are taking moving forward is to make sure that we upgrade our existing system that we're using, so that comes the next cycle of application, we're not found wanting and our systems are working. The second issue that we're looking at is to make sure that we implement our digital transformation strategy that is in place currently, to try and move towards a digitization and to ensure that we automate where we could, so that our systems at the end of the day, they are interlinked and integrated with the institutions of higher learning, with Home Affairs, with SARS, so that there is no delay in terms of us trying to see who qualifies to be an NSFAS beneficiary, and also work closely with SASSA, because we need also to make sure that SASSA is integrated in our systems, and as well as some of the key departments that we believe we need to get data from them to make funding decisions. Thank you so much.
The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Msizane.
Deputy Somlom. Minister, apart from the students that are classified as missing middle and the not eligible students, there are students that are not classified, such students that would have been provisionally funded but not accepted in institutions of higher learning. They are not classified, but there's a number of students that get affected as such. You speak of working with other departments such as Home Affairs to identify such students, but they remain unfunded even though they are deserving of funding. What measures have you put in place to ensure that such students are also classified and catered for by NSFAS, because the current system does not speak to those students?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Deputy Speaker. The question is a bit tricky because I'm not sure whether you're speaking about students that have been absorbed by the system, or you're speaking about the students that applied but they are provisionally funded, but they are not in any institution of higher learning. You're speaking about what?
Can I clarify, Deputy Speaker? I said the students that would have been provisionally funded this year but did not get space in higher institution of learning this year. But when they come back next year, they don't apply again because of information. Of course, most students from rural areas do not get the information that they must reapply, but they would have already been provisionally funded but did not get space. So they're not classified in these particular cohorts that we speak of missing middle or not eligible, because they're eligible but did not get funding for this particular academic year because they did not reapply, but they're already in the system of NSFAS.
Honourable Minister.
I hear the question correctly, Deputy Speaker. He says those students applied, but they did not get spaces in institutions of higher learning. So it means that we need to have outreach programs that goes to all these rural communities to sensitize or create awareness to those students that come the next academic year. They need also to check on the system, because they are already on the system, if their statuses are still provisional funded. Also, I just wanted to make an appeal to all of us to say, we need to encourage those who couldn't get spaces because we don't have capacity currently as the country to absorb all those that are coming from basic education, to also consider enrolling in our TVET sector, because it is indeed responsive to the needs of economy, and by its nature, it is inclusive, and it also produces those skills that we believe they are critical in our economy. And also look at our scholarship programs, international scholarship programs that we provide as the sector, so that we try to mitigate the demand that we have currently in our post-school education and training. Also, cities are there. People, they must also utilize them. So the process is a responsibility of the applicant to check the status from time to time, but we also have a collective responsibility as members, as public servants, to also sensitize and create awareness in our constituencies. Thank you.
Third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Souls.
Thank you very much, Honourable Speaker. Honourable Minister, thank you for your
response. Honourable Souls, you are muted. Please proceed.
I'm actually can you hear me now, Speaker?
Honourable Souls, we cannot hear you. You are muted.
I'm actually unmuted. Can you hear me now?
Unfortunately, we cannot hear you, Honourable Member.
We can hear him on the virtual platform.
Proceed to the Honourable Kobe for
Honourable, excuse me,
Souls. If
yes, Honourable Speaker, Honourable Speaker, respectfully.
We will proceed.
Honourable
Kobe,
Speaker.
please proceed with your question.
Honourable Speaker.
Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, in previous years, NSFAS failed to implement controls and mechanisms to ensure that information given by applicants is indeed accurate. As a result of this, more than 40,000 students in 76 institutions of higher learning have slipped through the cracks and have been unduly funded 5.1 billion rand. Now, how does your department ensure that these funds are recovered from these students who did not qualify, to ensure continued funding for the students who are in fact eligible and deserving?
The Honourable Minister.
Much once more for the question, Deputy Speaker. In terms of recovery of those funds that were granted to those students who do not qualify or who are not eligible to be offered NSFAS funds, SIU has presented a report, I believe, to the Portfolio Committee and also to SCOPA and to a number of institutions that we have. They are in a process of recovering those funds. So it is in the hands of our law enforcement agencies. We don't have a role to play in terms of ensuring that there are those recoveries, but there is work that is done. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. I have been alerted that there is a problem on the virtual platform, and that is why it is a connection between the virtual platform and the House itself. So the Honourable Souls could be heard, but is not audible within the chamber. We'll try again now. We are looking into the matter. Honourable Souls, can you try again, please?
Can you hear me, Honorable Speaker?
Honourable Souls, let's try again.
Yes, can you hear me, Honorable Speaker?
No, it does not seem that we can
Can you hear me?
him. My apologies.
Honorable Deputy
I will just
Speaker,
want to
Honorable
check with
Deputy
you, Chief Whip.
Speaker,
You don't perhaps have
Hon-
the question. Honourable
Honorable
Daniels.
Deputy Speaker, if you can hear me, I can clearly hear Honorable
cannot
Souls and
hear
I've
No
you.
problem
She
with
has
the
said she
virtual
cannot hear you.
platform. We will then proceed. We then go to the next question. Question 660 has been asked by the Honourable Maimane to the Minister of Basic Education. The question is, given that it has been almost a year since her comment in July 2024 that her department would establish a consultative forum consisting of education sector representatives, trade unions, school governing bodies, and others to undertake a
If
fundamental
IT can
review
hear
of
me
the school
because the speaker
curriculum,
cannot hear me,
including
can IT
reforming the
please
30%
attend to
pass
this
mark,
problem?
whether she has
Because we
established
can
the
hear Honorable
specified
Souls online,
consultative
but the
forum
speaker
and
cannot
what are
hear.
its terms
So it
of
is a technical
reference.
fault on your
Honourable
side.
Minister.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. I think firstly, before I respond to the question around the National Education and Training Council, I need to firstly do this House, I would be doing it a disservice if I don't clarify the issue of the 30% pass mark. I think it's important, honourable members, to understand that learners in matric are not required to obtain 30% to pass. And that you are required to pass at least 4 of your subjects with 40% and 3 of them with 30%. But I think for me, one of the biggest injustices, I suppose, Deputy Speaker, of this whole narrative around the 30% pass mark is the fact that out of the 724,000 learners who sat for exams last year and wrote the matric exams, literally only 189 of them passed with this minimum requirement. That represents, honourable member, a 0.000% of learners who are passing by this minimum requirement. So I think it's important that we don't paint this as one simple brush. Then on the issue around the National Education and Training Council, I've made it quite clear that this council is not a consultative body, so it will not be replacing things like the ALRC, HEDCOM, and CM, but this would be an advisory council to the minister, particularly on issues relating to curriculum reform. The issue around the nominations, they closed at the end of January, and I'll be making an announcement about the members of the council in the coming weeks once these have served in cabinet. But lastly, Deputy Speaker, I think I want to emphasize that the idea around education reform is not going to come on whether or not learners are passing by 30% in matric. Education reform has to be looked at systemically. We need to strengthen the foundations of learning. We need to look at the entire schooling system and make sure that children from as young as 0 to 4 to all the way to 10 years old are able to read, they read for meaning, they're able to count, and they're able to manipulate and develop cognitively as well as they can. Because once we do that, then we stop obsessing about whether or not the pass rate is 30%, because then we're presiding over an education system that ensures that learners are actually ready and walk out with a very valuable product at the end of the day. And that's the kind of work that this training council will be making sure that we do, looking at the system in its entirety and making sure that we strengthen it at all phases of learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The first supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Maimane.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, I see you have become a convert of those who say this 30% thing doesn't exist. I hear you, yet the Democratic Alliance says that the real pass rate is actually at 50%. You are arguing it's higher. Let's dismiss that point at one level. And I want to ask, Minister, your recent matric results confirm that actually of the 488 candidates who wrote mathematics in 2024, actually only 30% of them achieved 50% or more. In physical science, the trend has in fact become worse. I would argue that as per your 2014 panel review, it stated that we need to review promotion standards. May I ask, Minister, in thinking about the world of work in the future, the ambition South Africa has, are you willing to adjust at least how we assess learners in mathematics, science, technology, ensuring that we improve our pass marks there? And if it doesn't happen, will you take accountability for this issue as a departure from the past that we have seen? I thank you.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. No, I want to assure you that it's not a departure at all from the view that we need to look at these things. What I'm simply saying is that would be myopic to be looking at just the issue of 30% pass. I'm saying to you, when we're talking about issues of quality, we have to look at the system in its entirety. Then to your point around maths and science, I share your concern. Yes, there is a drop-off in the uptake and in the performance of maths and science. But it goes back to the point that I was making, that if we're only focusing on the issue around matric and matric pass rate, we are missing the point, Honourable Member, and that we need to develop the system in its entirety from literally foundation phase all the way to matric. Because then we're not going to be under pressure to be engineering results, trying to be pressuring children to be taking up maths and science, trying to make sure that we're changing the assessment system if we make sure that they are ready from as early as when they enter school. Yes, I want the issue around assessment to be looked at. That's one of the issues that the National Education and Training Council will be looking at. But I'm saying to you, we can't just look at one issue in its entirety in isolation. When we talk about the quality of education and the standard of education in our country, we have to look at the system in its entirety. Continue with their lives. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, the Honourable Rekwana, Honourable
Speaker, can you hear me?
Honourable Souls.
Honourable Speaker.
Honourable Souls, we will get back to you after the next few questions. I will make provision for you because this was a technical problem on the side of Parliament. But the Honourable Rekwana, I have now seen you and the sound was off, but you have been interrupting the proceedings now for a number of times. So I am going to give you this caution and then you will be removed from the platform. We will now proceed. The second supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Governor.
What are the department's strategies of ensuring a balance between the imperative to revolutionize the education sector and prepare our learners for the fourth industrial revolution, with managing the ethical use of artificial intelligence to maintain critical thinking and the integrity of the education system?
The Honourable Minister.
And Honourable Member, you raise an important question, and I think in Umbuzo Lona, many countries are actually grappling with in terms of how do we balance the notion of saying we need to introduce education in our schools, but also we need to introduce how do we handle artificial intelligence in an ethical way. And I'm worried that South Africa is being left behind in the conversation, because the reason why we're being left behind is because we are not yet even all connected in our schools, and that we are lagging behind in terms of being able to roll out essentially connectivity in our schools. We are lagging behind and leaving particularly rural children and rural Black children in rural communities behind. And that conversation is now being parked because we can't even have the conversation around the impact of AI on education when we are yet to even connect all schools. But I can guarantee you there's a large number and a large body of work that is available to us with people who are, and this is why having these bilateral conversations with academics and other countries is helping us, because we'll be able to develop a policy that will guide not only education departments, but that will also guide schools and educators on how we balance that tricky balance between the ethics of AI and the use of AI versus protecting children, but also making sure that they are equipped for the world of technology outside of school. Thanks.
The third supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable Jordan.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Minister, while the curriculum review is welcome, the education crisis is not only about pass marks and requires long-term reform, as you've said, but also immediate interventions. Parents and learners want to know what's being done now to improve learner outcomes. What immediate curriculum support interventions, such as remedial programs, better content pacing, or teacher development, are being deployed while we await the finalization of the forum and the review process?
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Member. The point I made, I suppose I'll sound like a broken record, but I think it bears repeating. The point I was making to Honourable Maimane earlier is that until South Africa realizes that the trick we've been missing for the past 30 years is making sure that we strengthen the foundations of learning, we're not really doing children, we are doing them a disservice. And we spend a large amount of time pursuing remedial action, which is essentially costly and really leaving children behind. But of course, there are things. Number one, I think the strategic reorientation that we have in the department of saying we're focusing on foundation phase is very important. But also added to that, we've looked at how we utilize Funza Lushaka, the bursary scheme, to prioritize foundation phase teachers against to the point of strengthening foundational learning. But also in the department, we have what we call the second chance program, learners who don't complete matric, who need to be able to go and supplement their subjects. We are also, provinces, for instance, like the Western Cape, have things like the Back on Track program, where they're helping students who had learning losses during COVID to being able to catch up. We partner with private partners who are willing to give us platform and devices so we can load curriculum so that students who are being left behind in normal learning and teaching time are able to catch up. But once again, I think it bears repeating that instead of focusing on remedial action and remedial interventions, we must not let children we must not let them down when they first enter the schooling system, because trying to then remediate later is not only costly, but also it's unfair on learners who have been let down right at the beginning.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The last supplementary question will be asked by the Honourable S. Nkobo, the Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. My question to the Honourable Minister is, what steps will the department take to ensure that the Advisory Council, as she has advised, once established, is representative of all the key stakeholders, including underrepresented communities and rural schools? And how will the public be able to access information about the forums, proceedings, and recommendations? And maybe if I am off the mark, then may the Honourable Minister educate us on how the Advisory Council itself will be established.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Steps on making sure that the council is representative. Well, I think firstly, we've got to understand that there are multiple fora within the education system who have either labor represented, teachers represented by teacher unions, SGBs that represent school governing bodies around the country. And all of these fora exist for a reason. Labor is represented in the ELRC. So it's very important to differentiate that kind of work from what we're doing here. We're putting together here a council of education experts who are to advise the minister on curricular specific issues around how do we strengthen our curriculum. There are questions, for instance, the one that Honourable Maimane was asking about how do we reform our assessment in schools. Those are the kind of things that this council is going to be occupied with. So these are experts in the field who are demographically representative of South Africa and who will be applying their minds on key curricular issues. Remember, while we may do a lot of things, the core business of the department is actually delivering a quality education system, a requisite time of learning and teaching in the classroom. So we have to make sure that we strengthen that kind of work, and its decisions will be communicated. I remain accountable to this House, and I will make sure that whatever recommendations are made to me, I communicate them publicly.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Honourable members, before we proceed with the next question to the Honourable Minister of Basic Education. There was an outstanding question of the Honourable Souls, where we had some technical difficulties. Honourable Souls, are you now on the platform?
Yes, Deputy Speaker, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Please proceed with your question to the Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Speaker. Honourable Minister, thank you for your responses and efforts. Behind me is a NSFAS accredited Black-owned student accommodation called Stir Park Guest House in Polokwane, who now has to make students cook on braai stands since they can no longer afford electricity due to non-payment by NSFAS for after 6 months now claim that 24 out of 53 students are no longer eligible. And if the owner Dineo gets paid, half of it must go to a NSFAS middleman. That's clear corruption. Despite committee oversight, Kibitso Nkosi, who remains on verification status with no response from NSFAS, Rihanna van der Nest from Eldos was provisionally funded, now denied funding. Honourable Minister, will you act decisively against those involved and commit to assist these 3 South Africans within 48 hours? Thank you so much.
The Honourable Minister.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. The issue of student accommodation accreditation is indeed a challenge, Honourable Soul. However, the entity is working on it to see how then they are going to make sure that it is centralized, because currently there are about 36 companies that are accrediting or student accommodation. However, because we could see that there are some of gaps and challenges that we are facing as far as this area is concerned, we have centralized the issue of student accommodation in the office of the CEO, and he's in a process of building capacity in that area to make sure that we build capacity, we add human capital that is going to oversee this process. However, it is our commitment and responsibility as the sector in terms of the Bill of Rights, Chapter 2 of the Constitution, to make sure that we adhere to the constitutional requirements. And now we are going to make sure that we do proper assessment before people can be accredited, because it is our commitment to make sure that we provide student accommodation that is conducive for both living and learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Before we move to question 581, let us, all honourable members on the virtual platform, please make sure that your background is proper. We usually use the parliament background, or switch off your your video so that we don't see unnecessary things in the plenary. And also note that, please, can we, with our cell phones, honourable members, please, can we make sure that we turn down our volumes so that it does not disturb the session?
Honourable Speaker.
As we move on to...
Point of order, Honourable Chair.
Who is that?
It's Honourable Souls.
Honourable Souls, what is your point of order?
Just for clarity, Honourable Chair, are you referring to the background I used to make reference to my question to the Minister?
Correctly so, Honourable Souls. We are seeing your braai stands and legs of people, which is, it is unnecessary for us to see. We have a policy that is guiding the hybrid plenary session, that we either use the parliamentary background, or you can just switch off your video.
I was showing the Minister the actual...
No, it is not an engagement, Honourable Souls. I was addressing it, but next time make sure that your background is either a parliament building, or you just switch off your video.
It related to the question.
Question 581, Honourable Souls, we are not going to engage on this one.
But you have to...
Question 581 has been asked by the Honourable DC Christians to the Minister of Basic Education. The question is in light of recent reports that the Northern Cape Department of Education owes more than 181 million including over 54 million to service providers, educators, hotel suppliers, transport providers, and municipalities. What urgent steps has the National Department of Basic Education taken to ensure that learners in the specified province are not denied access to learning and teaching support materials due to provincial financial mismanagement and delayed payments? The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. I think firstly, let me address the core issue that there are some serious and financial and operational challenges in several provinces, including the Northern Cape. And the truth of the matter, honorable members, is that the reason why provinces find themselves under dire financial constraints is that there's been a systemic underfunding of both education and health for the past decade. And this has really been at the expense of these departments and has been as a result of poor policy decision-making, of deciding to bail out failing SOEs versus investing in health and education. And as a result, provinces are finding themselves now on their knees, struggling to make ends meet. And so for the first time under my leadership, the department conducted last year a comprehensive financial analysis of all 9 provinces. And as a result, we were able to really see where the financial gaps are. And we've started interventions with various provinces. KwaZulu-Natal is the first province that we are intervening in, with both the National Treasury, the Provincial Treasury, the Department of Education in the province, and DBE. But it's also important that as provinces are going to be getting their equitable share, that provinces, honorable members, do not become naughty, and that they use their equitable share and generously invest in education. Often premiers and provincial leadership generally would use the equitable share to fund other projects, sometimes political vanity projects, and at the expense of essentially education in each province. However, I must also just indicate that the cutting of posts, the cutting of scholar transport, and the cutting of school nutrition, which should be absolutely the last resort. Those are critical to learning and teaching, and those should not be compromised in any way. And so what we will be doing is, where provinces are, like the Northern Cape, are dealing with some of these financial constraints, we will be intervening and helping them, because ultimately it's my belief that while education is delivered at a provincial level, the reality is that at a national level, we should be able to help them stabilize their finances. But there has to be some tough decisions that are going to be made. There has to be some sacrifices need to be made, and a commitment to a financial turnaround. Because if we don't do that, then some of these provinces are going to sink. And there has to be a commitment from provinces to actually invest the money they receive from Treasury in education and health. Thanks.
Thank you. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Christians.
House Chair, we did request that this question be taken by Honorable Jordan.
Oh, I didn't get that. Where is that? Our apologies, I didn't have the correct one. Honorable Jordan, you can continue.
Thank you very much, House Chair. Honourable Minister, given the scale of the Northern Cape's outstanding debts and the situation that you've just described, including 54 million rand owed to textbook and stationery suppliers, and its direct impact on teaching and learning, why has the National Department not yet intervened under Section 18 of the PFMA to enforce financial discipline and safeguard the constitutional right to basic education for learners affected by this provincial mismanagement?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chairperson. First, I think it's important I would always err on the side of building internal capacity, Honorable Member. I think that it is a cop-out for when provinces and when departments mismanage their money, for other departments and other sections of the state to take over. They need to be able to fix their mess and turn things around. So yes, Section 18 of the PFMA does exist. In fact, it is in place in KwaZulu-Natal as we speak. But ultimately, provinces, as I have, we met with all the 9 MECs at the beginning of this week, and I have instructed that it's important that each and every province presents a financial turnaround strategy. So I think our first port of call is to say to departments, they must first have a financial strategy that they can implement themselves. Because actually bypassing the problem by bringing in external interventions does not solve the real problem. And ultimately, departments will end up in the same place if you don't say to them, there is a CFO, there is an HOD or a DG in the department. These are key people alongside with the political leadership who should be making these tough calls and saying, how do we balance our books? And for me, I think, and unless that team has completely failed and there's no capacity, then we should invite Treasury to do a Section 18 or even in a worst case scenario, a Section 100. But I always believe that we should build internal capacity because departments should have people to be able to do these things and balance their own books.
Thank you. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Makakula.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, given the fiscal pressure experienced by some provincial departments, which impedes ability to meet their obligations towards learners, educators, and service providers, what early detection mechanism does the department have ensure timely intervention in such provinces to ensure uninterrupted learning and support services within the education system? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Chair. I think this is an excellent question, Honorable Member, and I think it links directly to the other Honorable Member's question around what are you doing about the financial problems in provinces? And part of what we are doing is having those early detection mechanisms. So the Minister of Basic Education convenes what we call a Council of Education Ministers, which is the one I was talking about on Monday. And part of the way or the strategy of saying how do we detect financial mismanagement much earlier so that we as a national government can support provinces where they are failing is to say to them, you need to present your financials at every CEM. So we can understand firstly, where are your pressures? What are some of the emerging risks? And so that's one of the things that we've introduced, that the CEM now becomes more of an interactive meeting where you can say to us, we have a problem with LTSM, we haven't paid our service providers, this is the looming risk. We are not going to be able to run internal exams. We're not able to pay teachers, whatever the case may be. But it's important that these things are flagged early so that if we can intervene, that we do so. KZN is a case as an example. Last year, they were under tremendous financial distress, but we were able, between ourselves and the province, work together to make sure that they were able to run internal exams at the end of last year, and it didn't affect the academic year. So it's important that we work as a partnership, because of course, MECs don't report to me. MECs report to their premiers, but there has to be a symbiotic and collaborative effort to try for us to be able to assist them and for them to be able to flag these things much earlier. Thank you.
Thank you. The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Gasa.
Thank you, House Chairperson.
Honorable Ghana, it's Gasa.
Apologies, I said, Honorable Chair. Honorable Minister, given the severe financial mismanagement in the Department of Northern Cape, what specific measures has the Department of Basic Education put in place to monitor and enforce the accountability to avoid future accruals of such massive debts? And how does it plan to ensure that affected schools receive immediate support to mitigate disruptions in teaching and learning? And lastly, Honorable Minister, can you please provide clarity on whether any portion of these unpaid funds relates to conditional grants or earmarked allocations meant for specific educational programs? And if so, what steps are being taken to recover or redirect these funds to ensure they are used for their intended purposes? Thank you.
Honorable members, we are allowed to ask only one supplementary question, but I will allow the minister to respond to the question.
I'll respond to all of them. There were three, Chairperson. The one is, what measures have you taken to assist the Northern Cape? The first one is, as I indicated, one, we've got a list of provinces that we are intervening in, including Northern Cape. The provinces that are at risk financially, honorable members, are KwaZulu-Natal, the Free State, and the Northern Cape currently. But unless we are managing our money well as the sector, these provinces are going to increase, particularly in the MTEF. With regards to whether conditional grants were used, well, honorable member, the reality is that provinces can't use conditional grants for anything else except for the intended use of those grants. And if in fact that has happened, then they were going to have to answer to Treasury. And often I think Treasury has a mechanism to be able to withdraw or recover those monies. My understanding is that the monies that we are talking about here are monies that were allocated for the buying of learning and teaching materials, so textbooks and municipal debt. Although that's still something that the province needs to get a handle on, but I don't think it's any of the conditional grants, such as school nutrition, for instance. And then I think your other question is that we're going to continue supporting the provinces, even though provinces have almost semi-autonomy, and they're empowered by legislation to run and deliver education and have allocated budgets to be able to do so. It is our responsibility to support them and make sure they're financially viable for the 13.5 million learners who depend on them. Thanks.
Thank you. The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Mahlatsi.
Thank you, Chairperson. Minister, given the repeated nature of financial mismanagement in the Northern Cape, where 181 million in unpaid debt has directly deprived learners of textbook, educator support, and critical services, and similar challenges in other provinces, will the minister consider invoking Section 100, subsection 1B of the Constitution? And if not, what alternative consequences management measures with specific timeline are being pursued to recover misuse fund, sanction responsible officials, and guarantee learners immediate access to essential educational resources? Kani mambo.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. Again, I think I want to just go back to the issue around internal capacity. Yes, the Constitution makes it possible for national departments to intervene in provincial departments using Section 100, but they've had varying degrees of success. We look at provinces like the Eastern Cape that have had Section 100 interventions. We look at Limpopo. We look at the Northwest, and these have worked to some extent. But the reality is that unless you fix the problem at source, and the problem exists within the provinces, and the provinces need to be able to turn their financial situation around. Because if you don't, what you do then, you are only just bypassing the problem. You are inviting people from a national department to be administrators, then they will be administrators, they'll sort out the mess, they will leave. The province will go back to the same place that they were in. So yes, that is available to us. And also, secondly, Section 18 of the PFMA is also available for the management of this. But as I said earlier, I would err on the side of saying, give us your financial recovery plans. Show us that you can recover yourselves, making the tough calls that you need to make. Provinces have done some questionable things in the past, taking people who should be education assistants during COVID and making them permanent staff, who are now using 93% of their budgets on paying employees and only 7% of the budget on goods and services. Those things need to change. And only they can make those decisions to change, because ultimately, they've ended themselves there. They should be using 80-20% of their budget, and that can only be changed by them. However, if things don't change for the benefit of the 13.5 million learners in South Africa, of course, then we will take other measures to try and force change. However, provinces must build capacity within, and they must start making the right decisions themselves using the adequate resources they have, including the equitable share that they receive to turn things around. Thank you.
Thank you. Question 615 has been asked by the Honorable P.P. Qabanchaba to the Minister of Basic Education. The question is about the commitment of her department to implement the Basic Education Law Amendment Act, Act 32 of 2024, as a transformative instrument towards equitable access to education for all. And how will her department monitor and ensure compliance with the new language and admission reforms in a former Model C and Afrikaans medium schools that have historically and systematically excluded Black learners? The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair. I think it's important, honorable members, to also note that as a constitutionalist myself, I approach the implementation of the 2024 amendments to the South African Schools Act, otherwise known as the Bella Act, with the deep respect for the rule of law, the transparency and the responsibilities that are entrusted to the office. The President proclaimed at the commencement of the Bella Act on the 24th of December. It was gazetted. And so I also want to make this clear because I get this question quite a lot. When will you implement the Bella Act? Honorable members, as lawmakers, we should all be aware, once a piece of legislation has been enacted, it is in fact in effect. It is in fact in law. I don't get to say when I'll implement the act. The act is in law. And so the only process now that is left for us to do as the department is to develop regulations. However, the development of the regulations does not delay the implementation of the law itself because the law is in force. It was in force in 2024 already. So this has nothing to do with me, my preferences, and as a constitutionalist, I'm busy working flat out to make sure that all of you will have an opportunity to comment on the regulations that we will be, in fact, publishing at the end of June. Also, it's very, very important, honorable members, to note that the work of the government has continued. We've started training district officials. We've started guiding schools on how they will implement the new legal framework. So the work has started to continue even before the proclamation of the act. And so that is currently where we are. And of course, the honorable member asked, how will you ensure compliance? Well, I would assume that when a law is law, anybody who essentially defies the law has broken the law and will have to face the consequences. So I am not nervous. I'm not anxious. I think we've got a very strong legal guidance here. It will have regulations attached to it. We will assist schools and principals to be able to implement it and implement it well, because ultimately, the key guiding principle here, honorable members, are the children of South Africa, the 13.5 million learners that we need to look after. So the political football playing, that's old news. We need to move on. We need to protect our learners, and we need to make sure that we protect our schools. Thank you.
Thank you. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Qabanchaba.
Thank you.
Honorable Lethu, your voice is very loud.
Thank you,
Yes.
Honorable House Chairperson. Minister, noting that there has been active resistance from some former Model C and Afrikaans medium schools aimed at maintaining racially and language exclusivity. How will the department use the implementation of the Bella Act to foster a cultural shift in these schools and address entrenched attitudes that have historically to undermine the transformation in order for us to realize the constitutional values of cultural diversity and linguistic and lingualism in all schools? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister. Honorable members, can we keep it down so that the minister is able to respond?
Ndiyabulela, honorable member. I think mandiyicacise ngolu hlobo into yobana ukutshintsha kwe-culture ne-attitudes is not the function of legislation. Urhulumente uyakwazi ubeka umthetho cultures and resistance that are held deeply by people ayizuncedwa nto. Kodwa apho singurhulumente apho sizakwazi ukuthi nihambe rongo kuxa umuntu esithi unawo umthetho uyifumene itraining zikhona regulations kodwa akayenzi lento umthetho wathi mawuyenze. That's when then we're going to have a problem, and that's when then consequence management will follow. Kodwa ukuthi sizabajonga njani abantu still who have attitudes ezitheni umthetho awuzukwazi uyinceda loo nto leyo. Kodwa anyone who works in the system must understand that they have to abide by the law, they're guided by the law, and that's why we've put so much effort into making sure that as regulations zizawukwazi ubaguide abantu baseziprovinsini, zibaguide abantu ezikolweni, ootishara, bayazi into yobana umuntu akazungawenza umthetho kuba engawu-understand. Umuntu uzawuthi engawenza umthetho ebewazi uba umthetho uthini. And so, and to your point, into cultural diversity, absolutely. And I think you can be encouraged by the fact that akukho mntu uyisileyo la mthetho ecourt silapha nje namhlanje akukabikho mntu uattacke any schools othi awufuni lo mthetho. So silapha siyaqhuba. Enkosi.
The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Jordan.
Thank you, House Chairperson. Honourable Minister, considering the concerning habit of some political actors to interfere in school governance and use political narratives for short-term gain, which undermines the stability and progress of education systems, what specific steps will the department take to ensure that mother tongue instruction is genuinely supported and expanded, especially in African languages, without politically motivated, harmful interference in the language policies of individual schools that could compromise quality education delivery?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member, and thank you, Chair. Then let me first deal with the last part of your question, Honorable Member, around the use of mother tongue in education. One, there's mounting evidence that shows us that children who are taught in their home language, particularly in the foundation phase, perform far better in the later part of schooling. And so when we see that children are performing much better, it's going to solve our literacy crisis. And that's why as a department, we've adopted what we call the mother tongue-based bilingual education policy, which says that children should technically be taught in their mother tongue because contrary to popular belief, and honorable members, some of you are probably complicit and guilty of this, that parents sometimes say they don't want their children to study in their own mother tongue. And it's a misguided view on what it does to children. When children are taught in their mother tongue, they develop cognitively much better, much quicker, and they're able to pick up additional languages with greater ease. And they're able to do better at school because they've been taught in their mother tongue. And so that's why we value the issue of the use of mother tongue in schools, because it has a proven academic impact on how children perform in schools. Around the issue around political narratives and whatnot, as I said, and I made this quite clear to people last year, that yes, this matter and this legislation may have been a political and an election tool, but here it stops here and now. This is about the children, and this is about the learners in our country, and this is about their future. It stops here and now. If you want to politic about this bill and this piece of legislation, do it outside, but you will not do it at the schools, because I will come for you, and I will come for you hard, because you cannot disrupt learning and teaching because of your own narrow political needs. That is not fair. It's not fair to learners, and we can't have it.
The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Shikwamban.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, in light of the recently enacted Basic Education Laws Amendment, Bella Act 12 of 2024, which aims to promote inclusive access to education and eliminate discriminatory practices, how does the department plan to address, and note this, Minister, to address potential resistance or non-compliance with the provision of the Bella Act by the former Module C and Afrikaans single medium schools? What specific accountability or enforcement mechanism will be implemented to ensure that such schools do not continue with exclusionary practices, whether through language policies or admission criteria, to effectively prevent Black learners from accessing these educational institutions? Thank you very much.
Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Member. As I indicated, this is a piece of legislation. And so what it has done, and as lawmakers, I'm sure we understand this, it's now become a law of the Republic. And so anybody who doesn't comply with the law is going to have to face the consequences of not complying with the law. And so as I said to the honorable member a little bit earlier on, we can't change attitudes by legislation. We can't legislate for wanting to change attitudes. But what we can do is legislate for an education system that is accommodating of all children in South Africa from all backgrounds and all their languages. And that's what these amendments seek to do. They seek to be inclusive and create an environment in which children can thrive. And so ultimately, anybody who doesn't comply with a piece of legislation will find themselves on the wrong side of the law. It's not for the Department of Basic Education to worry about that. Well, it's for the courts. And if schools don't comply with the law, then they'll have to face the consequence of doing so. So as I said to the honorable member a little bit earlier on, I'm not anxious about it because ultimately we've got a legislative framework that schools and districts will be guided on how to implement, and therefore people will be able to know exactly what needs to be done. And if they don't do it, then, well, they'll have to face the consequences of breaking the law.
The last supplementary question will be asked. Now it's your opportunity, Honorable Ghana.
Somlom ngiyabonga. Mphathiswa ngiyabonga. So, Minister, I must say I share your passion for the full implementation of BELA. Unfortunately, that passion seems not to be shared by your own party. It was very muted when you gave that passionate response to the original question. It was muted. I don't want, my question is simple. Has there been schools that have approached or have approached the department indicating that they are moving towards a dual medium schools? And what assistance are you going to offer the schools that are going to start implementing the dual medium language in their schools? Siyabonga, Somlo.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, honorable member. So the issue around dual medium schools has been around even before the BELA Act was enacted. And ultimately, I think the guiding principles for the department is one, usually the decision to turn a single medium school into a dual medium school will come from the SGB. They'll make the application to the province to say they are now ready to offer dual medium and they want to be a dual medium school. And then they would have to make sure that they then put in the necessary resources to be able to do so. So ultimately, this process has been ongoing even before the new legislative reality. In fact, there's a current case of a school, if I'm not mistaken, even before the BELA Act was enacted, that's currently going through that process. So provinces deal with this kind of work all the time. And so I think that, yes, now there'll probably be greater legal clarity because of the existence of the legislation and the amendments that the BELA Act brings. But ultimately, South Africa has had schools coming to provinces, to provincial education departments asking to be dual medium a lot more. And I think perhaps it also bears noting that I think, in fact, when you go down to the ground and you go to SGBs and parents and children, we actually realize that the political noise around this piece of legislation only exists in political circles. People on the ground actually just want what's best for their children. They want their children to learn. They want their children to learn in a safe environment. And it is our job and our responsibility as a department to make sure that we do that and that we provide a good quality education system for them to thrive. The rest, I think, as I said, I think it's limited to the political circles and the political theater that we sometimes find around us. But other than that, parents, learners, teachers, SGBs want what's best for their kids, and I share that passion.
Thank you. Honorable members, question number 573 has been asked by Honorable MP Msezana to the Minister of Higher Education. The question is about vacancies in technical vocational education and training colleges at executive level and the total number of institutions that have acting executives that are awaiting appointments from her department and the impact this has on the fundamental functions of teaching, learning, and management at these institutions. The Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair. I just want to indicate that indeed we have a number of vacancies within the post-school education and training sector, in particular the TVET colleges. The number that we have in terms of principal vacancies currently is 12. And we have already commenced with the process of trying to fill those vacancies. I think I need to also bring to the attention of the House that for us to be in a position to advertise any vacancies, we need to comply with regulations. We need to get concurrence firstly from DPSA. Once that concurrence has been obtained, that's when we start the processes of recruitment, advertisement, and. So as a mitigation measure to try and mitigate the risk that is there currently, because there is no stability in some of our TVET colleges, hence there is no leadership, we've decided to appoint the acting principals just to try and close that gap. Because we believe that stability as well as institutional leadership is very important in this very important sector that we are trying to promote within the country. And we remain firmly committed to safeguard the core mandate of our TVET colleges. Hence, we believe that it is an enabler and a driver in terms of the economic development of the country. And we want to ensure that we also deliver quality teaching and learning in this space so that it is going to be attractive to our students countrywide. We have assured that academic programs and institutional management have continued without disruptions in a number of TVET colleges, although we have seen that those elements were manifesting itself on the ground. The presence of the acting principals, supported by regional managers as well as campus managers, has enabled the colleges to function optimally. And furthermore, we continue as the department to prioritize the filling of leadership positions as part of our broader strategy to strengthen governance, to enhance institutional performance, and to respond effectively to the skills development needs of our country, and as well to transform our TVET colleges to be attractive. Thank you.
The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable MP Msezane.
No, thanks, Minister, for your response. Needless to remind you that some acting principals of vacancies have been going on for over 2 years now. But I like that you mention matters of regional managers, following a submission that I made to the Portfolio Committee last year on the same matter, followed by a number of written communications that I would have sent to you this year and through the Portfolio Committee regarding allegations of gross misconduct, fraud, corruption, and manipulation by the Director General of the department in the appointment of his friend as a regional manager of KwaZulu-Natal that is responsible for the TVET region in the sector. Has an investigation been initiated as per my request? And given the seriousness of these allegations and their cost implications, will you place the Director General under an overdue precautionary suspension pending the finalization of this investigation? If so, when? If not, why not?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much once more, Chairperson, for the question from Honorable Member. It is indeed correct that the regional manager was appointed around 2022, if I'm not mistaken. However, we have since received a resignation. I think last week, I saw it through social media. Then I've since written a memo to the DG to provide me with the representation around this matter, because I did, when I received a letter from you, indicate to him that I want him to furnish me with the report, the detailed report, as far as the appointment of this regional manager, hence there are these allegations. However, last week when I then made a follow-up to him to say, I need that report, I received a resignation. In fact, I saw it from the media. Then the DG said he's going to provide me with the detailed representation before the end of this week. However, the challenge is that now he's with the G20. I cannot say at this point in time it is in my office or it is not there. But I cannot at this point in time and say I'm going to suspend a person without following the due processes. I have to make sure that I follow due processes, investigate, and see whether there is a need for me to put him in a precautional suspension. At this point in time, really, I cannot say I am going to suspend him. Thank you.
Speaker, the matter was raised
Thank you.
to the
No,
minister
I have
last
not
year.
recognized you, Honorable Msezan. You got an opportunity to ask a follow-up question. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Khabo.
Oh, thank you very much, Honorable Speaker. Let me firstly start by appreciating the response of the Minister. It's a true indication that indeed under her leadership, there is respect for the rule of law and all processes that are related to labor relations. That is appreciated, Honorable Minister. However, Minister, take into consideration the strategic, the developmental and transformative role that TVET colleges are playing. What strategies is the department is going to implement in making sure that they build leadership capacity internally and also prepare for the future by the means of creating successful or succession pipeline to ensure that these imperatives are fully supported? Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister.
As the department, a House Chairperson, we remain committed to ensure that we build capacity within our staff complement within the TVET sector, because, you know, when you look at the environment itself of TVET, it is not static, it is dynamic. So we need to move with times, we need to move with technology, we need to make sure that we also invest technology in our TVET space. So we're working with a number of institutions within the country and globally to build capacity within our lecturers, senior management, and all our employees within the TVET sector, in particular those who are holding critical positions. We have partnered with ETDP SETA, and we have also partnered with GIZ, which is one of the German corporation, and also services SETA, the University of Pretoria, the QCTO, and we are also leveraging on our diplomatic relations that we have with various countries, in particular the People's Republic of China, where we have exchange programs, where we send our principals and as well as our senior management to China to learn how best do they do. Hence, Germany and China are the countries that are advancing in terms of TVET, TVET sector. So we're learning from the best, and we're learning globally. And also, in terms of trying to build capacity, what we are doing is to also advance in terms of the mutual recognition of qualifications in a global context, so that at the end of the day, our teachers at TVET college here, when they go abroad, they don't struggle, they meet the standards and the requirements in a global context. And also the area—
Honorable Minister, your time is expired.
Okay, thank you.
The third supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Kakao.
Nkeleba Mudula Stulo, it is Kakao, it is a Sesotho surname. Mudula Stulo, Minister, your department spends more than 19 billion rands on 21 SETA authorities per annum. SETAs that you so ashamedly sought and still seek to have captured by ANC cadres, predominantly from the KZN, and members who are not strangers to this house. Many of these SETAs are poorly managed with qualified opinions and SIU investigations. And even those that are well managed raise questions on whether the skills they provide truly result in the empowerment of young people and whether they contribute towards economic growth and job creation. So my question is, are you open to using the Skills Development Act of 1998 that allows you to amalgamate and dissolve SETAs to redirect the 19 billion rands towards the filling of crucial and frontline TVET college teachers?
Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Chairperson, for the question from Honorable Khao. Maybe
We will get there, Honorable Khakau. Be patient with each and every one of us.
Okay, yeah, maybe one must maybe set the record straight to say, I fail to understand where this notion of SETAs being captured by the comrades from KwaZulu-Natal because we don't have chairpersons, we don't have accounting authorities currently in our SETA space. And what you are speaking about with the previous performance of SETAs, I understand there were some gaps there, but I cannot say those comrades or those people that we are referring to as comrades were from KZN, the ones that were absorbed by the system previously. So I'm not sure. I did not do an analysis to check which provinces were they coming from, the people that we are speaking about, to say they are spending about 21 billion rands, but we don't see any impact. I agree with you in terms of the impact that indeed there is no impact because they are not delivering as we expect as the society. But to say those accounting authorities that were appointed previously, the previous administration are coming from KwaZulu-Natal, I don't know. I did not do any analysis, unfortunately. I think I must set the record straight. The second part that I want to speak to is the Skills Development Act, to say, yes, what the minister is empowered by the Skills Development Act to execute her responsibilities, even the appointment of SETAs. I'm empowered by the Skills Development Act. And it is not my responsibility to check the affiliation, whether this member is from the DA, this member is from the EFF, this member is from the ANC, because the Constitution doesn't allow us to deprive people of South Africa opportunities to also play a critical role in our economic activities. It is not my responsibility to say, because
Honorable Minister, your time has expired.
In South Africa.
The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Lonzi.
No, thank you, Minister. Minister, on this question of vacancies, you are the one who set the targets to say that I'm going to make ministerial appointees to councils, to TVET colleges by this date. And I think the target you set last year was November, if not December. It's now May, and you are saying to us, you have not been able to fill all these vacancies. We wrote to you last year. I can produce that letter. Now, what does that say about the capacity of the ministry to deliver on your own targets? Because you are the one that sits down and sets this target. It's not us. Yet, you cannot maintain your targets. But when it comes to appointing Gwede's son, you're quick, you appoint. When it comes to appointing ANC comrades to boards, you're quick, you appoint. But there are councils and institutions of higher learning that are still sitting with vacancies, and that affects governance in those particular institutions. So we're going to ask you again for the fourth time, when are you going to ensure that all these vacancies, ministerial appointees, principals in all institutions of higher learning are going to be filled? When are you going to do it, Minister? Thank you.
The Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much for the question. I can see the question is in two folds, because it is speaking about the timeframes that I must put before the House to respond to say, when am I going to fill the vacancies of the ministerial appointees to universities? We have concluded the process. It was as well like the one of the boards overseen by an independent panel. I brought together professors to look at this issue, and the criteria was to say after the Gazette, because I believe all of us, we saw the Gazette coming out, calling for nominations for people to serve in those councils. So the criteria was look at the strengths as well as the gaps in that kind of institution before they could make a determination. They have concluded their process. Now we are in the stage of vetting those people that have been recommended by independent panel, because we are trying to make sure that we stabilize our councils. You understand, all of you, that sometimes in those councils, you fight for tenders, those people serve there. So we don't want to bring those kinds or those caliber of people, because we want to make sure that our institutions of higher learning, they are indeed stable. And higher education is a very dignified and respected sector. So we need to keep the standards. Thank you. I don't know about this thing of Kwete Mandasha's son.
Thank you, honorable members. We move to question number 657, has been asked by Honorable S. Lonzi to the Minister of Higher Education. The question is whether, notwithstanding her withdrawal of the appointments of the chairpersons to the sector education and training authorities and restarting of the process, she has found it appropriate and procedurally correct for politically exposed persons to be appointed as board chairpersons. If not, what steps is she going to take to prevent such appointments? The Honorable Minister.
Thank you once more, Chairperson. I think I need also to clarify this matter that the Constitution of South Africa, particular Chapter 2 of the Bill of Rights, guarantees several fundamental freedoms. The right to freely choose one's trade, occupation, or profession, equality before the law, political rights, and freedom of association. These principles ensure that no individual is denied opportunities based on political affiliation or association. Consistent with this, the Skills Development Act contains no provisions excluding or favoring candidates based on political beliefs. The Government Gazette of the 22nd of May 2025 affirms that all nominations for relevant bodies will be judged solely on lawful merit-based criteria. Within those people who were recommended, there were 3 PhD, yes. And then we had 15 master's degree candidates, and also those with occupations or occupational programs like your engineers, your scientists, and medical doctors. So we are trying to, we have decided to recalibrate the process, not because there was something wrong with the process that was conducted by an independent panel. It's because we're only responding to the outcry of the society. Hence, we're a responsible government as the African National Congress. We felt it is very important for us to be responsive and listen to the citizens when they cry to say they feel that the recommended people in those boards, the caliber of the candidate, it's more like political heavy. So we had to respond, not that there is any legislation that we contravened with. There is nothing of that. And the panel recommended professionals who are highly qualified, and the process was beyond reproach. I don't want us to even believe that there are people who did not meet the criteria. Those people are professionals. They have a role to play in the society. They raise their hands to say they want to serve so that they turn around the post-school education and training sector. But because our people are crying on the ground, we have a responsibility as the government to respond to their cries. So that's why we said we need to recalibrate the process and reopen the process. The Gazette is already out, and I am hoping that the panel is going to fast-track the process, and within no time, we are, no, don't call an order. I'm still speaking. I'm addressing you. You raise your question.
You are clumsy. You are clumsy.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, honorable member on the virtual platform, Honorable Letlape. Please mute your mic. The first supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Lonzi.
Minister, you are simply misleading the people of South Africa. The fact that you withdrew the names means that you effectively agree with the people that there was some fraud in the process. There was some malice in the process. There were some people who were not supposed to be chairs of those boards in those lists. Because if there was no problem in the process, you're not going to withdraw those names. You withdrew the names because you saw that the people of South Africa don't want Gwedemantashe's son there. They don't want ANC comrades there. That's why you withdrew the process. So you can't say to us, you did not withdraw the names because there was nothing wrong. If there was nothing wrong, why did you withdraw the names? Because you're the minister. You have taken the decision. Now you are putting us in a governance crisis. You are giving CEOs letters appointing them as accounting authorities. Worse, you have given the CEO of FACET, making her an accounting authority, even though in December she was suspended as the CEO of FACET. Why would someone be suspended in December? They don't finish their DC. You saw their suspension. The suspension was sent to you, and then you come and appoint them as an accounting authority. Why would you do that?
Before so angry. Why are you so angry? No, Minister, Honorable Minister, I have not given you an opportunity to respond. But honorable members, let us note that even if how much we want to emphasize our point, but we don't point at each other in the plenary. And I will give the honorable minister an opportunity to respond.
Chair, I still want to emphasize the point that there was no flaw with the process that was undertaken. It complied with the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa as well as the Skills Development Act. But it was a response to the outcry of our society to say, because they feel that the recommended candidates, they are more of, they look like political bloated. So we were just responding to that, not that they did not meet the criteria. Listen, I listened to your question. Listen, the Act outlines key criteria for appointing members of the authorities of SETAs. These include gender, the demographics, it includes historic disadvantaged individuals, and a diverse mix of skills and experience. They met all these criteria. Additionally, candidates should ideally hold senior positions.
Ayanda Malufeka was suspended as the CEO.
Order. If I speak,
Honorable Minister,
means you don't want.
Honorable Minister, please hold on.
But why will the people of South Africa cry if there's no flaws?
Honorable member.
Minister,
so the people of South Africa are not smart enough.
Honorable Minister, please switch off your mic. I have not recognized you. Honorable Lonzi, what you did was wrong. You were not supposed to speak without being recognized. At least the least thing that you could have done maybe was to raise your hand, so that if I do give you an opportunity to speak and then you speak, you don't just open your mic when the minister is giving a response, because honorable members, no. Honorable members from the right. Honorable members as well from the left. We don't open our mics when another person is asking a question or responding. To you as well, Honorable Minister, no. No, I am addressing this issue. And you are going to give me that opportunity. You are not going to respond while I'm addressing it. You can't assume what is it that I'm going to say. As much as I was addressing Honorable Lonzi, as the first person who opened his mic, I was still going to come to Honorable Minister and address him as well. So you can't just assume because you are seated there and you think you can just respond as you please. Honorable Minister, as well, we are not allowed to speak when we are not given an opportunity. You allow the presiding officer first to recognize you as a member, and then you are able then to respond to any other question. Honorable members, we can't continue like that. We must keep the decorum of the House. And both from the right and the left, you are howling at each other, and now other people will not get an opportunity to ask their questions because of we are wasting time. Can we now then move on to, yes, Honorable Member?
Thank you very much. But the minister did not answer all questions that were posed to her by Honorable Loans. Can she please answer why did she appoint a suspended CEO of FASET as an accounting authority? Please, can she respond to that?
Honorable members, as I was addressing, would not have heard whether the minister did respond to that or not, because all of you were howling. So you did not hear because you were busy howling.
We are telling you
She
now.
did not respond. We heard it.
Honorable member,
She did
you are
not
not going
respond.
to do that.
She
Honorable
did not
member.
respond.
The
She did
minister
not
did
respond.
not respond. She must respond.
I want to call him correct. That honorable member,
Honorable Shikwamban, you are not going to do that. I just addressed Honorable Lonzi on opening a mic without being recognized. I recognized you, you spoke. And as I was speaking, you open your mic without being recognized. You are cautioned. This is your first caution, because I will not allow that to happen. As much as I respect you as the presiding officer, you must then return the favor as such. We allow the decorum of the House to proceed. I gave you an opportunity to speak. You did that. I was still addressing an issue here that we were all howling while the minister was still responding. And we couldn't even hear whether the minister did finish the response, or maybe she did even address what now you have raised as a concern. And all honorable members from the virtual platform, please, no one has given an opportunity to speak. You don't open your mics. Honorable Minister,
order.
You done with Honorable
On a
Ntlangwini?
point of order, my hand has been up
Ntlangwini?
for the longest time.
Honorable Ntlangwini, I
House
have
Chair,
not
my hand has
recognized
been
you.
up for the longest
Honorable
time. You have not
Ntlangwini,
noticed
I have
me.
not recognized you.
I called a
Honorable
point of
Minister,
order.
did you finish with the response that you had given to
On a
Honorable
point of
Lonzi?
order.
Honorable Ntlangwini, I have not recognized you. Please switch off your mic.
But Honorable Ntlangwini is calling a point of order, Chair. You need to allow.
No, Honorable Ntlangwini has
A
not
point
been
of order
recognized
is a
as
point of order. If a member is calling for a point of
ICT,
order,
please remove
allow the member to
Kala.
speak. You can't do that to the member.
Honorable Minister, Honorable Minister, did you finish with the response?
I was almost done, Chairperson. It's just to indicate that because of that vacuum that exists currently, what we have done is to apply Section 49 of the Public Finance Management Act as the department to request concurrence from the National Treasury. So whatever that they are speaking about, it is in line with the regulations as well as the legislative framework, because there is no way we could function without anyone executing the responsibilities of an accounting authority. They must go and read PFMA.
Honorable Ntlangwini? Honorable Ntlangwini?
Thank you,
Honorable
House Chair.
Ntlangwini, yes, I'm recognizing you now.
Thank you very much, House Chair. It's very disappointing that the minister comes, she doesn't answer a question, and then you are trying to shield her from answering a question, because we on the visual platform can clearly hear when and how a question is being answered. She didn't answer any of the questions. Number one, if there was no untowards on the appointments of those board members, why did she halted the decision? So she can be good at grammar, but she will not fool South Africans to what really have transpired. She can come and talk here nice English, but South Africans are seeing her for what she is. She hires ANC comrades, she hires sons of ministers. Thank you.
Honorable Ntlangwini, I have been calling you more than 3 times. And as you alluded that from the virtual platform, you can hear clearly. So which means you could even hear that I've been calling you for 3 times and you have not actually listened. And as you have alluded to your concerns have been raised and I think they have been attended to. The minister did respond with the remaining minutes to the question that was left. So we are moving on, Honorable Lonzi.
With the greatest respect, Chair, when the speaker was leading us earlier on, and then she felt that ministers either did not hear the question or didn't answer correctly, you can go back to hindsight, you'll see it. She even went back to the ministers after they've completed their minutes to say that, I think you misunderstood the question. And this is what the member was trying to say. And she gave ministers another opportunity to answer because this is a very important process that we're doing in terms of transparency and democracy. We asked the minister, how do you appoint a CEO who was suspended in December as an accounting authority now? She has not answered that question.
No, Honorable Shikwambani, I think, raised that. And I gave Minister the opportunity to continue with the response. I'm not sure if Honorable Minister did not respond to that question per se, but I heard her now responding to the remainder of the question. You see, what I was saying exactly at the beginning is that when we howl here, even me as the presiding officer, I cannot hear the response that is given by the minister, which then deprives me an opportunity to say maybe the minister did not respond fully on this question. So it is this house that has brought this issue here now, and we cannot allow that to happen anymore. Please, honorable members, can we then continue with the session of the House and the last supplementary questions that are remaining so that we are able to finish with the questions. Honorable Makaula.
Ngibonge she. Lento lesikhuluma ngayo manje ithinta youth. While wazi kwawena uqobo ukuthi youth yala eSouth Africa ifundile enye ize ithatha umphefumulo wayo.
Honorable Makaula, what is your point of order?
Ngiza lapho.
Get straight to the point of order, yes.
Ngiyabonga. Uminister akangene straight asho ukuthi kwenzeke iphutha lokuthi athathe umuntu vele ade phuma kwenye indawo wasuspendwa kodwa wazothathwa wazofakwa lana. And 2, ayiqali lento yokuthi la kuthiwa kwenziweni ama-interview kodwa bebebazi bona bazofaka abantu babo be-ANC umkhuba omdala wabo lo. And from now, this is a time ukuthi
Honorable Kaula, we've received your point.
Umbhedo wokuthi kwenziwa ama-interview egcineni bebebazi kunabantu babo abazobafaka. Ngiyabonga.
Honorable Kaula, honorable members, based on what Honorable Kaula has said, I think the minister has responded to that. And she did allude to the processes that unfolded and like she explained properly what had happened. But she did also say that out of the outcry of the public about maybe bombarding more politically high people into the appointments, then that's when they decided to withdraw. So there is no time where the minister did not respond to that question. I gave a minister an opportunity to respond to the last question, and she did also respond to that and made reference also to PFMA. So we are going to move on to the next question, but before, is that another point of order, Honorable
Chair.
Lucia?
Yes, thank you very much, House Chair. I think you have a responsibility to protect the ministers when they answer. The rules are saying, when you have asked the question, the follow-up must be related to the original question one. It also says if you ask multiple questions, it is the minister's prerogative which questions they will answer, but you are allowed to ask one question, one follow-up question. The minister has responded to the question that is related to the original question. Any other question after that, it would have been the prerogative of the minister to answer. So I'm asking you, please protect her from loud noise. Thank you very much.
Honorable Litsie, you are derailing us from this process. And I think the minister did well on her discretion as a minister of higher education and responded to the question. What you are raising now is honestly derailing the House. And I do, honorable members, want us to continue and finish with the next supplementary questions. Honorable Zondo, to have a point of order.
No, thanks, Chair. I think, Chair, we need to be fair on this process because we've attended to this matter and the minister didn't send an apology to the committee. And the question that was asked by Sihle or Honorable Lonzi is still relevant to the main question. And the minister didn't
Honorable
answer,
Zondo,
didn't answer.
Honorable Zondo.
Chair, didn't.
No, I'm
correct.
stopping you now. I'm cutting you off, Honorable Zondo.
No.
I have dealt with this issue and I've made a ruling and we are continuing. The second supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Lucia.
Chairperson, House Chairperson.
Honorable
Yes,
Chair,
Honorable Mhlongo.
point of order.
Ngiyabonga, Chair. House Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Mhlongo.
Can I proceed, Chair?
Proceed.
Ngiyabonga kakhulu, Chair. Chair, with utmost respect, you handled the question from Honorable Kaula properly. You then even went further and answered the question. Can you please kindly, we are asking you nicely, Chair, do the same with the question from Honorable Lonzi. He's raising a valid input that the minister did not answer the question.
Honorable Mhlongo, I am
so
going to cut
the
you.
Same courtesy, the same
Honorable
courtesy you
Mhlongo.
did. Can you please extend
Honorable
it, Chair, and
Mhlongo.
let the minister.
Honorable Mhlongo, I'm going to cut you and I am not going to take any further more hands. I have dealt with the question. I think I did explain this on Honorable Letsie and Honorable Zondo.
Okay.
So
Chair,
we are not going to
can
take
I say
any
something
further.
else?
Honorable
Not on this
Mhlongo, I have
matter.
not recognized you.
Not on the matter, Chair.
I'm cautioning you. I've not recognized you, even if it's not on this matter. I have not recognized you.
Order, Chair.
Okay. I have not
Raising my
recognized
hand,
you.
Chair.
Honorable members, I've dealt with this and I've made a ruling. And we are moving on from this issue. Honorable Mukwele, I've not given an opportunity to speak. Can you please mute your mic?
Chair.
Honorable Mhlongo, I'm cautioning you now because I asked you to mute your mic because I was still dealing with this. And I am not going to take any further more hands on this matter. We've dealt with this matter and we are moving on to the second supplementary question. Unless the new hands are on a point of order, which is different from my ruling.
Yes, Chairperson.
Yes, Chair. Yes, Chair.
Who asked you to speak? Who recognized you, honorable members?
I was agreeing to what you are saying, Chair, to say it's on a different.
Who asked you to speak, Honorable Mukwele?
I thought you were saying
I'm cautioning you. I'm cautioning you for the second time. I'm cautioning you for the second time. Honorable Zagute.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. I think since yesterday, we've been seeing this kind of drama in this house. The question session is for ministers to respond to those questions, nothing else. And we all know, Honorable House Chairperson, that if a member is not satisfied with the response that is being given, that member must write to the Rules Committee. Currently, our rules, the 9th editions, doesn't prescribe to anyone as to how to respond to such questions. Can we allow the ministers who are here to, can we allow the ministers who are in this house and ready to respond to questions be given that opportunity? Because it is us, members of parliament, who complain that ministers are not coming to the house to respond to questions. Yesterday, the president was here to respond to questions, but he couldn't finish his session. So today they are doing the same thing. So protect all of us who are the members of the EFF.
But who's they? What? Who do you mean they?
Honorable Zagute,
Who's they?
Honorable Zagute, I think.
Why are you saying we are there?
Honorable
Who's they?
Zagute, we have
Indiscipline.
heard that point.
The
Why did you
No,
indiscipline
allow
honorable
one.
members,
Honorable
no.
Zagute to
No.
speak and you don't allow us?
Honorable members.
Indiscipline.
Please. We are in this session of questions to ministers and responses. And I think I have dealt with the issue that was at hand. We are now moving on to the second supplementary question, which is asked by Honorable Lethu.
No, thank you very much, House Chair. Minister, thank you very much for clarifying the
On a point
misinformation,
of order,
the
Chair.
era of propaganda that
On a
you
point
have.
of order, Chair.
Honorable Mukwele.
On a point of order, Chair.
Honorable Mukwele, what
May
is
you
your
allow
point of
our
order?
chief whip, may you allow our chief whip, her hand is up because you don't want us to address you.
Honorable Mukwele.
Our honorable chief whip, the same as the chief whip
IT, please
of
remove
the
Honorable
ANC
Mukwele.
was speaking. Can you allow the
Honorable Lethu, please continue.
Point of order, Chair.
Honorable Noluchungo.
Yes, Chair.
What is your point of order?
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Yes, I agree with the deputy chief whip of the ANC that ministers are invited to the house to answer questions. But if they are only coming to the house not to answer questions directly, then it is totally unacceptable. And we cannot be hiding behind the rules. The purpose of them coming to the house is to answer questions, and the question stands. And we are asking you to give the minister an opportunity to answer the question. It cannot be that yesterday we're experiencing the same thing where we were hiding behind the rules and not giving us an opportunity to get the correct answers from the president and now from the minister. Please be fair, and we want honest answers from the
Honorable
ministers.
Noluchungo.
Yes, Speaker.
Honorable Noluchungo, please mute your mic. I have dealt with that question and I
No,
did give a minister an opportunity to respond with the 1 minute, 10 seconds that she had, and she did respond to the questions that were asked. Even the consent that was made by Honorable
Everybody in the house is agreeing that
Honorable
she has
Noluchungo,
not responded to the
Honorable
question.
Noluchungo, you are not going to do that. And all the concerns that you have, you can raise all those concerns in the Rules Committee. But for now, we are continuing with the last supplementary questions that are left. Honorable Lethu, it's your opportunity.
Thank you very much. I hope
Point
this time
of
won't be
order, House Chair.
I knew it was coming.
Point of order, House Chair.
Honorable Lethu, continue.
Point of order, House
I need
Chair.
to hear myself.
Point of order, House Chair.
I want to hear myself.
Honorable Ntlangwini, what is the point of order?
But Chair, what you are doing is very wrong. You don't even, there's a rule that even talks about
Honorable Ntangwini, I have ruled on this matter and
participation.
we are moving
Number
forward
two,
on it.
you have let
I
the
have
deputy
moved,
chief whip of the
Honorable
ANC talk.
Ntangwini,
Why are you
I
interrupting
am
me when I'm
cautioning
speaking,
you.
man? Why
Honorable
are you
Ntangwini,
interrupting me
I'm
when I'm
cautioning you.
speaking?
We have moved from this and I ruled on that
You have
and we are going to
interrupted our
proceed
chief whip. You didn't
with the last
interrupt the
session
chief
that is
whip
left.
or deputy chief whip of
IT,
the
please
ANC.
remove Honorable Ntangwini. Honorable Litsia,
Will
please
come for
continue.
Nina.
House Chairperson, my hand is up.
But what you are doing, Chairperson, is not correct.
IT.
We're not your children's here. We're not, we are here voted by the community. You can't do that.
Honorable Matulelwa.
Yes, Chair.
Honorable Matulela on the virtual platform.
Yes, Chair.
What you are doing is incorrect and you are wrong.
But in
Can
all
you
of
please
us, we
mute
must
your mic?
agree
I
that
have not
even you,
recognized
Chair,
you.
what you are doing is
Honorable
incorrect.
Matulelo, I have
Yes,
not
Chair.
recognized you and I am cautioning you. You open your mic again, you speak. Because I have not recognized you.
Okay,
Right
take
now,
my
I have
hand then.
recognized. Right now, I have recognized Honorable Litsia, who is taking the second supplementary question. And I don't know for the 100th time that I must explain that the Honorable Minister did respond to the questions from Honorable Loans. So what you are doing is disruptive. It's disruptive.
It's
And I'm not
purposely.
going
Please
to, I'm
note
not
the
going
hand,
to allow
Chair.
that. I'm
Okay,
not
Chair,
going to
please
allow
take the
that.
hand as well, please. My hand is up.
Honorable Shikwamban.
Thank you, Chair, for recognizing me. You see, when you continue to say you have ruled on the matter and you said the minister have responded, that's where we get everything wrong and we're not going to agree with you. Because the minister did not respond to the specific question that was asked to her. She's referring us to the PFMA and she says we did not read the act. But the act does not say appoint suspended people. The question is, why did you appoint a suspended person?
No, the minister has responded to the question. She has responded. If you have a problem with the response that you have received from the minister, you know the proceedings. You can write it to the Rules Committee or to the Speaker. And we are proceeding with this. I am not going to take any further more hands. And we are proceeding. Honorable Litsie, it
House
is your
Chairperson.
second supplementary question.
House
IT,
Chairperson, my
please
hand is
remove
up.
Honorable Mfongo.
How?
Honorable Litsie, please continue.
No, thank you very much, House Chair. I think we must thank the Minister for properly responding to the question and clarifying the misinformation and political grandstanding that the Minister decided to
But
restart
Chairperson,
the process.
we are not going to
because
allow
of
that.
some people
Chairperson, we are not going to
who
allow
were going
that.
to
Please
This
remove
person must
Honorable
speak on
Matulelwa.
what he is.
Indeed, a minister, the ANC is an organization that listens to the public. And when they gave you the outcry, you decided to listen to them. Now, taking into account the legislative authority that you have, which you have spoken about, Section 11(1)A, Section 11(4) of the Skills Development Act, the Bill of Rights, Chapter 2 that you spoke about, but also the principles of politically exposed person. How will the minister, when appointing the SETA board chairs, make sure that there is a balance of all the factors that I've just mentioned above, making sure that you don't exclude people because they are related to X, Y, and Z, but you also don't give them opportunities because they are related to those people. Thank you very much.
The Honorable Minister. The Honorable Minister.
Much, House Chairperson. We are not going to deviate from the legislation that empowers the minister on the processes that must be followed in terms of appointing accounting authorities. We are still going to follow the Constitution. We are still going to follow the Skills Development Act. We are also going to be following the guide in terms of the Skills Development Act on the criteria that must be followed. However, because our people cried that it is indeed political bloated, the candidates that were recommended. This time around, amongst the criteria that I'm going to add personally in trying to respond to the outcry of the public is to say to the independent panel that is going to oversee or preside over the process, please make sure that it is indeed balanced in terms of demographics. It is indeed balanced. We don't see a bloated political associated candidates in that list. That's what I'm going to guide. However, we need to take into consideration that the constitution, the legislation does not preclude those who are politically affiliated. Okay, let me speak to that one. Do you know what happened? The process that they followed was irregular. The Skills Development Act says when you want to appoint or dismiss a CEO, you do that in consultation with the minister. There was no consultation. I had to look for a legal opinion. I spoke to my team. They looked at it. Then they wrote again to the chairperson by then, was the chairperson, to say, follow the due processes. I did not get any indication from him. He did not follow the due processes, which then nullifies the dismissal or suspension of the facet CEO. Look at the Skills Development Act. It says in consultation in bold. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, but also to let us not use hands when we respond to members. Please. No, Honorable Lonzi, no. Don't open your mic. Don't. No. You can't feel abused when you did the same when you were asking your question. We are moving on to the third supplementary question, which is asked by Honorable van der Walt.
Thank you, House Chair. Minister, after all of this chaos, and also to note that after the list was leaked, within 2 days you withdrew that list. In fact, in your last attempt now, you actually acknowledged that the list was bloated and therefore the public outcry. So what will you do differently? Despite all the qualifications, all the experience, what steps are you going to take to apply your mind? Because we expect a minister to apply his or her mind and do the right thing, to appoint the right people with all of this taken into consideration. The public won't cry out if everything is kosher. So please tell us how you're going to deal with this. Thank you.
Honorable Minister.
I think I'm still going to repeat myself to say I'm not going to divert from the legislative imperatives. I'm going to stick to them. However, amongst the guidelines that I'm going to add to an independent panel is to say they must make sure that the recommended candidates that they are going to bring to the attention of the minister for consideration and for consultation with the National Skills Authority, because that's what the Act says. I only consult the National Skills Authority on this matter. I will then say to them, please make sure that it indeed looks at all those areas and the concerns of the public that they raised in terms of the bloated of the list. But it was not leaked because it was, I don't know how it went to the social media, but it was after the consultation with the National Skills Authority, not that it was a leak.
The last supplementary question will be asked by Honorable Msezane.
No, thank you very much, House Chairperson. Just two quick ones, Minister, from your responses. I do not want to repeat what has already been submitted. I'm certain that you know that you account to Parliament and in extension to the Portfolio Committee. When this matter arose, the Portfolio Committee wrote to you through the Chairperson to submit this list that was leaked and the process thereof. And from the response we got from the Portfolio Chairperson was that you did not submit a report until you decided again to withdraw the appointments of course, as you are claiming that because of the public outcry, why did you not submit a report to the portfolio committee upon the request of the portfolio committee? That is one. Secondly, if there's a public outcry again, because that is what you determine, you use to determine your actions versus the regulation you speak about, will you then again reappoint or start the process again?
Honorable Msezana, your time has expired.
Lastly, Minister, the public cried out loud
Honorable Msezana,
because of the
your
change,
time has
the
expired.
votes that were stolen.
Honorable Msezana,
Why did you not consider the public's outcry when you stole our votes as the ANC?
Honorable Msezana, before you respond, Honorable Minister, I think you heard me when I said your time has expired. And no, you did. You even, you did. You did. You did. You stopped. Honorable member. Honorable, I didn't say open your mic.
But I didn't hear you.
I'm saying I didn't say open your mic. I never asked you to open your mic. I'm addressing you. That you had.
But don't
do not open your
intimidate me.
mic.
Don't give me personal checks. You don't have the right to do so as well.
Mic.
Don't intimidate me.
Honorable Msezana.
But don't intimidate me.
Honorable Msezana, you can't behave like that. Honorable Msezana, I'm questioning you for the last time now. Can you please leave the chamber? Please leave the chamber. Please leave the chamber. Leave the chamber. I'm asking you to leave the chamber.
Order.
Because you have continuously disrespected the presiding
Order,
officer.
Speaker, order.
When I have been calling you out and I've told you not to open your mic, you did that. I told you not to open your mic, you did it the second time. I told you not to open your mic, you did it the third time. That is exactly why. Please leave the chamber.
Order,
The Honorable
Speaker, order.
Minister. Honorable
Order,
Minister.
Speaker. Order, Speaker.
Thank you so much,
But there's an
Chair.
order, Chair. But there's an order, Chair. You can't ignore it. There's an order that is being raised. Why are we ignoring it?
Who recognized you?
No, but there's an
Honorable
order.
Speaker,
Who
How
recognized
do you
you?
expect me
My
to
hand is
How
raised.
do you expect me to wait for your recognition
Honorable-
while you don't
Honorable-
recognize our members when they raise orders?
Honorable
No,
member.
no, no.
Honorable member. No one
Honorable
recognized you. And the table is here to make sure that if there's a hand, then they will alert me that there's a hand. Honorable Reddy knows the processes. You can't just open a mic and say point of order. You raise your
Chair,
hand first,
I've got
and
my
then
hand
the
but
raised.
Chair,
chairperson,
the hand
then
has
the
been
table
up
will
and you are
address me as
ignoring it.
such.
No,
For
the
now,
hand has been up.
The hand has been up, Chair, and we have been ignoring it.
Honorable-
So what option do we have if we don't point at us? What option do we have?
Honorable. Hello? You are not going to do that. You
Honorable
are not
Chair,
going to do that. Honorable Reddy, I have not recognized you. Please switch off your mic. I have not recognized you. You know the processes of raising a hand. You can't just open your mic and say point of order and expect it to be given a preference because you have just opened your mic. We will follow the rules of the House and we will abide by them. And as I have said, the table will alert me if there is a point of order, and I will take it as such. For now, I've given an opportunity to Honorable Minister
No,
to
but Chair,
respond
it means
to
that
the last
table is
supplementary
sleeping
question.
on duty.
Honorable
That table
Nomvala,
is sleeping on
IT,
duty. They are sleeping on duty because they are not pointing at us.
honorable members, in the rules,
Honorable House Chair,
rule
this is
number
not fair.
80,
This is not fair, House Chair.
one,
That-
in the
House
event of a member
you are
not
making this
showing
House
due
degenerate
respect
now.
to the authority of or not obeying an
House
order
Chair.
of ruling or direction of the presiding officer or acting in a disruptive or grossly disorderly manner in the House, the presiding officer may disable or switch off their microphones being used by such member or order that it be done. I wanted to read that out to you so that you know we follow rules in the House. And for as long as I have not recognized you, which means you are not going to speak. And I will recognize you once the table has given me or alerted me that there is a member on the platform. But the fact that you have raised your hand doesn't mean that you raise your hand and then you open your mic and say point of order. That is not how we do things in the House. We respect one another. Honorable Minister.
Thank you so much, Chair. It's nice because one has to choose any of the questions that have been raised because there were 3. I'm going to respond to the last question that Honorable Msezana raised about why we did not listen to the public outcry when we stole their votes. It was the imagination of the heart where they dream and dream and dream as the MK and see that they are winning elections. There was no such. So I think I need to clarify that. There was no public outcry. There was nothing like.
Honorable Minister, please hold. Honorable Lonzi.
No, thank you very much, Salonga Pambin. I think the minister is really undermining the House because of the 3 questions which were asked, one of them was relevant to the main question. So she can't be asked about SETA boards and the process, and then she chooses to answer something about votes and stolen votes and all of that. If she's going to choose on the 3, at least she must choose one which is relevant to the main question. Please, Salo, Minister mangadlali ngathi.
Honorable members, it is because when the presiding officer tells you that as a follow-up question, you are only allowed to ask one follow-up question, then you will fight the presiding officers and say, no, we can't. That is why. Now, the minister received 3 questions from Honorable Msezan. The minister is still responding. And already you have assumed that she is only going to respond to one question. Her time now, it's 1 minute, 21 seconds. We don't know what she's going to say. Can we allow, that is why we allow the process of ministers to then finish with their responses. Then if you are not satisfied after she has said, I am done, then you can start. But she was still speaking and you raise a point of order. So now it confuses the whole thing because you don't know what is it that she is going to respond to. Can we please allow the minister to respond to the last question? The Honorable Minister.
Chair, the question was around what if there is another public outcry? When we reopen the process this time around, we are going to address the concerns that were raised. I don't envisage any other public outcry after this process has been concluded because we are anticipating to conclude it within a short space of time. So I just want to assure the House that there will be no public outcry. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Dlagute.
Thank you very much, Honorable House Chairperson. I want to bring you to the attention of Rule 142. The time allocated, Rule 142, Sub-Rule 2. I'll start with Sub-Rule 1. Questions for oral reply have precedence on Wednesdays unless the program committee determines otherwise in accordance with Rule 210. Then Sub-Rule 2 says the time allocated for question is 3 hours. We have gone beyond the 3 hours, Honorable House Chairperson, and as the House Chairperson is more than 1 hour, more than 3 hours, and now we are at this 1 hour, 3 hours, 40 minutes, which was not supposed to be like that. So I want to plead with you that if there is drama in the House and the question session is beyond 3 hours. Can we not be abused? The question session is 3 hours only, nothing else. If people decide to drag this session, then we must be protected, all of us. Thank you. The rules are clear on this one.
Thank you, Honorable Zagute. But to respond to that, if a question, the last question, comes before the allocated time of 3 hours, we then finish with all 4 supplementary questions. We don't just cut out because the first supplementary question came at 18:02. So if maybe, if maybe members would like to maybe change that, you can do that in the Rules Committee. But it is said that the last question, I took the last question at 17:51. That was the last question. And we're going to finish at 6. But because there was a lot of disruption, I couldn't have now not given an opportunity to other members who were supposed to ask supplementary questions. Now, honorable members, time allocated for responses has expired. And I want to finish now the session. Is there a point of order? Yes, honorable member.
Chairperson.
No, can we give each other an opportunity? Yes.
Chairperson, I think as presiding officers in the future, you should yourselves determine whether it's within the purview of a member or members to say whether a particular question answered by a minister was responded to satisfactorily or not, because that's one of the issues that eats into the time of the House. Thank you.
Honorable member, your point is out of order because I had dealt with that matter already. And I did say that members who are not satisfied with the responses to ministers must take it to the Rules Committee or write it to the Speaker. The time allocated for the responses, 2 questions, has expired. I will now ask all honorable members to stand and wait for the presiding officer and the maids to leave the chamber. That concludes the business of the day, and the House is adjourned.